dime on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, now I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited. Keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion.
Welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series, where this evening we'll be crowning a champion in the Split 1 Open Finals of Clash Royale. 16 players are here to fight over the lion's share of a $10,000 prize pool, and among them are some of the best ladder players in this region. We have several players who have top 10 ladder finishes and even #1 ladder finishes under their belts.
And it's not just ladder heroes we have tonight, we also have got some former pros throwing their names in the ring.
And to be clear, he's not talking about me, although he needs to be putting that respect on my name. He's talking about the old pros, Diego, Kevin, Boss, and Asael.
That's right, Clash Royale fans. Former CRL World Champion Diego B is back. Big question is, has he fully shaken off the rust and returned back to World Championship form? Or is it time for a new generation of great players to claim their moment?
Well, we're about to get our answer to that and so much more, because the tournament is just moments away from beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snapdragon Pro Series.
Won't stop going till a player on top know it. Rooftop penthouse. sour sweet. If you really want it, gotta own it. Fight through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, I jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already. Emotional work and devotion, we put in this time. Look. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. You take us down, keep fighting.
Live from Burbank, California, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series. We are very excited to be bringing you all of the action here today as 16 players battle it out for that top spot in our Clash Royale Snapdragon Mobile Open Finals. I'm your host, Glitter Explosion, and this time I'm joined by our lovely casters, Andrew and Josh. Guys, how are you feeling today?
So excited to be here. I love being in studio to cast some Clash, and I think it's going to be a good tournament, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hate rehearsing for things. I just want to get it going. So, you know, no more stops. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive right into it then. It's definitely going to be an action-packed day today. But before we dive into all of that action, just in case you're new here, let's take a minute to walk everyone through how our players got here.
Yeah, 3-week open tournament format, which means anyone in the world can join the Snapdragon Pro Series. From there, we had 6 champions and 10 more players that filtered in based off of points, which gets us to today, our single elimination best of 3 bracket of 16.
6 cup winners, but the ones that didn't win by that way were able to do it by points, and they are no slouches. We have Diego B as the X-Pro making his little comeback. And then the matchup that I really want to be talking about, Ian77 versus Boss CR. 2 greats going against each other in round number 1.
And of course, there's more on the line than just pride here for our players today. We've got some serious cash for our top 8 as well.
That's right, $10,000 up for grabs today, but you have to make it past that first round to just get a little bit of cash. If you're eliminated in that round of 16, I guess you get maybe just a good time.
Yeah, you know,
kind of.
It's fun to be here, right? Okay. Well, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's look forward to today. I am really excited to be able to pick your brains a little bit here, as I'm going to be starting with you, Andrew, but I want to ask you which player you're keeping your eyes on here.
So, you know, if you would have asked me a week ago, I would have said, you know, probably Diego B. I'm a huge fan of him, but I'm going Arden Toas. He has been such a stellar player in all of 2022. You saw what he did in the Queso Cup Golden Edition, getting 2nd place to the best in the world. He is a relentless, talented, diverse player. And you look right here, look at those sets. 13-1 in sets, a number 6 finish on ladder, and almost 8,700 trophies, which is great, right? That's pretty impressive on ladder, but it's what he's able to do in the competitive scene. This young man, and I use that on purpose because he just joined the competitive scene last season, has grown exponentially by the day, it seems like. And you can see right here in this highlight, going up against one of the best players in the world, and definitely in America, in Ian77, he is just continually relentless throughout the last of this OT.
Yeah, I mean, the way he pressures is incredible. What he was able to do in the last Queso Cup was unreal. You know, going 2-0 against my, you know, one of my favorite players, Mugi. I mean, what he's been able to accomplish in, you know, just the past month, it's insane.
Yeah, it feels like the sky is the limit for him, but he does have a tough competitor in round 1. That's my guy, though, Glitter.
Okay, all right, I like that pick. I can get behind that one. But now, Josh, I've got to ask you, especially with the X-Pro background, which player are you keeping your eyes on?
You know, I got to go with the other X-Pro. You know, Diego B, obviously, everybody knows him. Team Liquid, Chivas. He was a star for Team Mexico. We see right here in the graphic, 7-0. He said, I only need 1 tournament because I'm just going to win it all. And we see that right there. This man, he took a year and a half off of competing, and I asked him, you know, what happened to your skill level? Do you think you dropped off? You know, what are you going to be able to do to get it back? And he said, not only has he already gotten it all back, he's better than ever. One last thing that he said, he's really only worried about Betfos. That's going to be another guy to look out for.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about how good Diego B is, but the other thing is how much experience he has in these high-pressure situations. He has so much experience at the highest level, you have to imagine it's going to be impossible to get inside of his head. Even if he's down in a set, down in a game, you know Diego B will always come back. Our former world champion with Team Liquid. Excited to see him in round number 1. And I mean, telling you, Josh, I think he might be a big-time favorite in this tournament.
Yeah, I don't understand how he's already at the level that he's at. I will say I played him in a couple triple drafts recently, and I have not had a lot of success against him. I don't know if he was using that in order to improve his skill set, but yeah, he's pretty good.
Okay, all right. Well, that's just who our casters are keeping their eyes on here today. But obviously, it is the era of everyone, which means it could even be you. You can head on over to SnapdragonProSeries.com because Split 2 signups are open, and we want you to sign up. It's a fun way to not only improve, but you could be the next person we're talking about up here. You can test your mettle against the best of the best. And speaking of the best, it's time for us to start turning our attentions towards the matchups for today, because we are starting things off with Ian versus Boss.
Yeah, you know, you say, Glitter, that it's the era of everyone, but this is the era of two of the most seasoned guys in the game. Boss has been around for so long, since the inception, it feels like, of Clash Royale. And while Ian is an up-and-coming name, he is a very, very big name. And you see right there, the numbers don't lie. He did go 17-4 in sets, still a really great showing there. But number 2 on ladder is his highest finish. He has 8 top 10 finishes on ladder, with a handful being just in the top 3. And, you know, a lot of people wonder, does ladder translate to competitive? I truly think now in the format that we're in with duels and single player, it really does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when you're going on ladder, yes, you can be a ladder one trick, but you often see all of those players, hey, you know, if my opponent is trying to snipe me or trying to get a good matchup, you can't keep going that way. With Ian, yes, you know, a lot of people know him for being able to play Cycle, and, you know, we often see that in the tournaments, but there's so many variations of Cycle. There's Mortar, there's Hog, there's Royal Hogs, there's all sorts of ways to get around that, and we see consistently he does get around that. He plays pretty well in these kind of tournaments.
Yeah, you know, and then Boss on the other side of it, a guy that was on Team TTG back in 2020 for CRL East. You know, he's a guy that's been around forever, whether it's content creation or in the pro scene. But is this the changing of the guard? I think that's the biggest question here we have, because not only is it kind of Boss, who's been around forever, and Ian, who's up and coming, but this is the most difficult matchup in my mind of the round of 16. Boss went 21-6 in sets. He's got a top 5 ladder finish, but he will be eliminated, or Ian will be eliminated by the end of this opening set.
Yeah, if I was either one of those guys, I would be sick seeing who I got matched up against. Both players are unreal competitors. Both of them have had a lot of success, but a lot of them, you know, both of them think that this is kind of their tournament to win.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying legacies are going to be made here, but I will say trying to compete and do well in this kind of tournament is going to be necessary if you want your name mentioned in the upper echelon of players.
Look, and I know that double elimination has kind of become the format that a lot of people are used to, but single elimination is still very relevant, still very prevalent, especially today, and I think that really puts the duels format to the test. You gotta come out with a good deck in game number 1. You do not want to use too many of those best cards in the current meta.
Okay, all right. Well, now that we have all of the information, all of the stats on our first matchup, chat, I need your opinion, okay? We all know chat is always right. We've got a poll, and I want to know, listen, I want to know who you guys think is going to be taking this first one home. Let us know who you think is going to win, because it's a big matchup to start off the day, and I know we're asking chat for their predictions here with that poll. Do you guys have a direction you're leaning here for this first matchup? I know you said it's going to be really close.
I'm going to let you fall on this sword first.
You know, I think I have to lean towards Ian. He's an unreal player. His cycle is just on another level.
All right, well, we're about to find out. It's time to kick it off for that first matchup.
Here we go. Game 1, set 1, match 1 of the Snapdragon Pro Series 10K up for grabs today. And man, I am just so excited to get going. Here we go. Boss, bottom of your screen. Ian at the top. And you can see here, Ian doing exactly what you expect, rocking that quick cycle, comes out with drill, comes out with wall breakers, comes out with Dark Goblin. It's exactly what you have to expect. And I like that Boss went also pretty quick cycle on that, Josh.
Yeah, I like that. Nice King Tower activation right there from Ian with the Inferno Tower. And yeah, I mean, Hog is going to be a good one. Boss tends to go Royal Hogs, RG, a lot more control. I like that he's going as quick cycle as possible.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing for him is that Ian obviously has a couple of buildings at his disposal if he wants to use them. Nice log there to clean things up. And here we go, Giant Skeleton in the back, working his way down that left-hand lane. Lowest tower on the screen is Boss's 2016 to basically an untouched Ian's 2 towers.
Yeah, really solid log right there. It's not often that we get to say that, but he was able to catch the Fire Spirit, able to catch the Dark Goblin. Just allows him to reset, and that's what you want to do when you're using, Giant Skeleton. Yes, it's a quicker cycle with Hog, but when you have Giant Skeleton, oftentimes you want that Giant Skeleton Hog Earthquake push,
Yeah.
and so you need to gain that elixir.
Yeah, and that's something that Boss is going to have to survive until he gets into double, deeper into triple, and he'll be able to use this deck just a little bit more formidably, but he's got to be able to keep up with the quick cycle of Ian. We all know he wants to win this before we get into OT.
Yeah. As we head into double elixir, we see the constant barrage on the towers with everything cycled at the bridge, and we could see it here again. But finally, Giant Skeleton gets cycled in the back, and it puts Ian in that weird position. He has to swap lanes, and this is going to be a lot. No log and cycle, but the bomb tower should clean it up nicely, and that's a brilliant bomb tower timing right there.
Yeah, that bomb tower putting in overtime for Boss here, making that huge push on the right-hand side that Ian had built up basically completely fall off the board, and we go Ian right back to it, left-hand side, drill to the back, wall breakers up front.
The guards do take it out in time, and the Giant Skeleton is able to take the aggro of all the goblins. Boss is down 700, and yes, he's kind of in a position where he's controlling, but that Inferno Tower is going to be so difficult to get past. I don't know if it will be possible, even with this Earthquake push.
So Earthquake does come down just like AC's calling out here, and he is not going to be able to break through. You see Valkyrie placed in a great spot. Will take the brunt of that Giant Skeleton bomb, but still, damage is done. And Josh, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I mean, I guess you're okay. You're better than I am in the game, but does it feel like the tide is kind of turning towards Boss's favor right now?
It just depends whether or not he gets that one push. It's almost like it doesn't even matter if the tides are turning for him, because at the end of the game, once triple elixir happens, if it's even close, the quicker cycle is going to be able to get the damage at the end. So you just need that overwhelming push.
And you know that Ian is relentless when it gets deeper into double, especially when he knows when triple's right around the corner. It feels like there's always a drill on the board. It feels like there's always wall breakers out there. And you see here, Dark Goblin cycled in the back. They're still trying to figure it out. Here we go, log coming in, gonna hit both those wall breakers, take the Dark Goblin off the board. That's an incredible 2 for 6 trade, 2 for 5 trade. And you can see right now, Boss still hanging on, both of his towers just a little bit above 1900.
The Earthquake does get damage on top of the tower, but he just needs that one push. And Ian is doing a great job. Oftentimes when we see cycle players lose games against control decks, it's because they keep going in that same lane. Right here, as soon as double elixir hit, he used the guards in the right lane, starts swapping up everything, and even here, guards at the bridge. It's not a common play, but it is the right one.
Right, I mean, guards after their buff, they're so incredibly powerful. An undefended set of guards at the bridge can do a ton of damage. So just like you're talking about, Ian doing the right thing, because what did you say earlier, Josh? Boss wants to build this great push with the Giant Skeleton up front, the Hog behind, Firecracker there, and an Earthquake in. What's up?
He missed the log on top of the Dark Goblin.
Oh, Dark Goblin on the tower.
Wow.
That is going to do it for game number 1. Now you see Ian cycling those fireballs. Boss getting desperate, but he's not going to break through. Inferno going to burn it down. Dark Goblin there to help out, and that was a big-time miss, AC.
I don't understand. I don't know, exactly if this matchup was played poorly, but he was never using the logs on defense. He was always using the logs on the Dark Goblins, and it was just kind of odd that that's how he chose to play that matchup.
All right, so Ian picking up game number 1. Boss down early, but not out yet. You can see right here, log coming in, cleaning up both of those wall breakers and hits the Dark Goblin. Great stuff there. Boss just needs to replicate that throughout the entirety of this game, but this is what you're talking about, AC.
Yeah, I mean, the Fire Spirit's played low because it tries to get the wall breakers, but then one of the wall breakers disappears, and so it kind of just goes in that no-man range. And look, you need everything to be placed correctly if you're going to be winning against a player of Ian's caliber. Right there, too many mistakes, and he never caught up. He kind of got back, and then he just wasn't able to finish that.
Yeah, so Ian calling the good game there in our replay. Good sportsmanship is always appreciated, right? Gets the tower down there with the Fire Spirit coming in. Ian up 1 early, and you see right here, I mean, we talked about it. They're both at 3.3. Talk me through why these numbers actually are kind of lying to our eyes.
Right there, I mean, just the Elixir leaked is just kind of an odd one to look at. 7.9 and 0.4, just not something we often see. But I mean, right there, it kind of tells the story of why we often saw him use the logs on Dark Goblins. He was always in this weird range where, you know, do I want to get aggressive on offense? You know, can I use the Earthquake and the log to take out the Inferno Tower? The Inferno Tower was, I mean, it's not a card we often talk about,
Right.
but it did so much damage overall in this match.
Yeah, I mean, the Inferno Tower coming down every single time. It's really making work of that Giant Skeleton really, really easy there. And like you said, the Hog can still come in behind the Giant Skeleton, but what does Boss need to do? He needs to probably take a little bit of damage on, like,
Right.
more than he's comfortable with, especially in that last game, on that right-hand side, and then build that push. Giant Skeleton up front, Hog behind, Firecracker in tow, Earthquake on the Inferno. I feel like that's the only way you can actually break through.
You know, that's a reason why I like this Giant Skeleton deck in the meta, because a lot of these players aren't really well-versed in how to play it. You don't know whether or not,
Right.
you know, do I take that tower down? Do I try and build, you know, a 15 elixir push or maybe a 25 elixir push? So it's kind of cool to see one of those decks that there's not a lot of knowledge with it, because it provides, you know, it provides a different viewing experience each time.
So talk to me a little bit about Giant Skeleton then, as we've got time here between these games. Never mind, we're going right back into it, and that's exactly what the Curse of the Caster is. Boss bottom of your screen, Ian at the top. We'll probably pick that up later on because I guarantee we'll see more Giant Skeleton in play today. And just a shout out to Ian here. He finished second place in Royale Masters Season 1. He's got a #2 ladder finish. He's got 8 top 10 ladder finishes. Boss, though, no slouch himself. He's picked up a couple wins in that global tournament. First place once and second place in the double elixir tournament. And of course, the top 5 ladder finish there. No big deal for him.
Wow, great Hunter right there. Able to take out the Mega Minion all on its own in just one shot. RG, you're not really looking for a lot of damage right there. You're kind of just looking for 1, 2, 3 shots, you know, periodically, and then try to get the log Earthquake chip damage elsewhere. But right there, 500 HP, and he has an RG and an Earthquake for that mortar.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough for Boss to defend as this game goes on. I mean, the Zappies are definitely going to help. The single target DPS of that Mega Minion, the Snowball to slow it. But still, it's going to be tough to work through here. And a pretty unorthodox mortar deck coming out of Boss.
Yeah, it's probably going to look like a graveyard deck that is followed by either the Fireball or the Poison. And I like it. I like the idea of it. But Ian is just so talented. I don't know. The fact that he's already going in with the Earthquake cycles, he kind of understands the matchup, understands how it's supposed to be played. And when you're going against those players, it's hard to really break through, especially after the graveyard recently got nerfed.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Boss to figure out when and where to use that mortar. It's just going to be such an easy target for that Earthquake. And remember, guys, this is single elimination best of 3. So Boss back up against the wall and down in HP on both towers here. He needs to make a comeback, and he needs to make it happen quick.
So now that we head into double elixir, it's going to be interesting to see, will he go in with the RGs in the back, or is he just going to forget about the RG on offense and just go Earthquake cycles? Wow, Giant Skeleton again in this match. It's crazy how popular it's become so recently.
Yeah, and perfect. So here we are, right back to where we started this game. Why do you think it is? Why do you think Giant Skeleton is so huge? Is it because we're just seeing so much more beatdown in the meta, and it's a great way to stop all the troops behind?
Look, I think it's solely, it's weird when you can kind of say a meta is getting started by just one player, but I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, what does Muhammad like? And he enjoys Giant Skeleton. He thinks it's a great card in the meta. He's the reason why we saw a lot of those decks get used in the Queso Cup, and it's probably the reason why we're seeing Giant Skeleton get used so consistently already.
So here we go, Graveyard finally coming in the last 10 seconds of regulation. Mega Minion at the bridge, Zappy behind with the Graveyard right there. Earthquake comes in defensively with Zappies up high. Zappies on both sides of the board, a little bit rare there. And easy cleanup for Ian. And I think he will probably get another RG down, Josh, because that seems to be the way he likes to play. But I do agree with what you were saying earlier, is he doesn't really have to if he doesn't want to, but he can keep the pressure up for Boss to build those big graveyard pushes that he needs crossing that bridge.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's not going in with the RG in the back. Instead, he's going in with the Giant Skeleton in the back. And I really like how he's doing that. You know, the giant skeleton to win the bridge battle, force out arrows. You never really want to be using arrows if they're not killing. Even with that snowball, we could see it get onto tower. The log, the earthquake, taking out the zappies.
Oh,
giant
there it is.
skeleton might get to the
Two
tower.
shots in, 4:15 remains. The writing on the wall for Boss, just like that. He has to laugh it off. We're already, what, 2 games in, we've eliminated one of the biggest players in the United States.
Wow, we see the frustration. I know it's a laugh, but we see the frustration out of Boss.
Yeah.
He just never could do anything. I mean, he got overwhelmed. The giant skeleton gets to the tower. I mean, everything went wrong for him in game number 2 and honestly game number 1.
Yeah, you talk about game number 1, even though they had the same elixir cycle, it was a much different use of elixir in those cards. You know, you can send wall breakers, you can send a fire spirit, and it feels like you're committing so little. But you see right here, once again, in the numbers, 4.6 elixir leaked from Boss. And I think this is a testament to what you were talking about earlier, AC. It's just, when you're leaking elixir, you're wasting time, and I think it shows that he's just a little uncomfortable. And Ian is thinking much more quickly and much more aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him use the log and the earthquake cycled at the beginning of the game. And you can only get away with that if you know your deck. Oh, you know, if he has mortar in cycle, I've already wasted earthquake, I'm in trouble. No, you have the RG, you have the E-Spirit, you have everything set up. It's clear he knew what he was doing, and that was with the giant skeleton deck. I said no one knew it. I think he does.
Listen, you guys said it leading into this. This was going to be a great matchup to start the day off, and it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a look back at what's happened so far, because like you also mentioned earlier in this bracket, there's going to be some matches that we can't see. So now that we know that Ian moves on, but all the way up there at the top, we've got Rimapon, who also moves on in this bracket. So that is another 2-0 on the board. I mean, the day is shaping up to be pretty aggressive so far. And we've got another matchup right around the corner. We should probably start talking about them, because that's Kevin versus Minnie.
Yeah, this is an exciting one, and congrats to Rimapon there, our number 1 seed, taking out the number 16 seed. Not a big surprise there, but yeah, Minnie and Kevin RA, 2 ex-pros, 2 big names in the scene, 2 Spanish-speaking players that have a great following, but you can see Kevin RA a little bit less experienced than Minnie. 77 is his highest ladder finish. He went 17 and 6 in sets here during the Snapdragon Pro Series. Obviously great trophies there as well. But Kevin's no joke, man. He was 8th place with Chivas in 2020 fall. He's number 32 finish last year in our round 3 CRL 2021. And, you know, that's a pretty tough thing to do. He has been pretty quiet over the last year or so. So maybe this is his coming out party in 2022.
Absolutely, and I'm guessing he's hoping that that is going to be the case. Look, he's a talented player. We see it right here in this replay. He can play Cycle, he can play all sorts of decks, but, you know, as is the case with a lot of these semi-pros turned pros, kind of in that mid-level range, are they the best at their deck? You know, can they compete at the highest level? When you don't see a lot of recent success, unless you're Diego, because then you can get away with just not playing for a year, it's usually because you aren't comfortable at the level that you need to be comfortable at. You can't compete with those best players.
Right, and you know, when you talk about who Kevin is playing, no shots on the Lost here, who is actually a name that we're starting to see more and more in 2022. Mini Minter is a class of his own. You know, you talk about what he did last year when CRL 2021 started and it was all the single player format. He came out in months 1 and months 2 with really, really great finishes.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like if the first 2 matchups are any indication, once again, this is going to potentially really set the tone moving forward through the rest of this bracket. I mean, I was going to ask your prediction, but I'm already getting word right now that the game's started, and we don't want to miss any action, so straight back over to you guys.
Glitter, very correct there, saying that today was going to be incredibly aggressive. The players don't even want to wait on us. Kevin, bottom of your screen, Minnie at the top, and to talk about Minnie's accomplishments that we kind of teased there. 2nd place in CRL 2021 round 1, 6th place in CRL 2021 round 2, and then he got pretty quiet for the rest of the year until World Finals, where he finished in 16th place. A very good player who is running a very popular version of Splash Jar. There's a bunch of them out there right now, AC.
Yeah, it depends if you want to use the Archer Queen. It depends if you think Valk is the answer, Dark Prince is the answer. You know, we've seen the Freeze Bowler variant. Graveyard is always going to be in the meta. I personally actually don't like this deck right now. This is actually the version that I think is kind of farthest away from the meta.
I agree. I think we drop out Goblin Cage usually for Tombstone. You swap in Skeleton King for that Valkyrie. And one thing I will say about that first set, not as many champions as I would have hoped. I really think you should be playing champions in at least 2 of your 3 games.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of tweets. One tweet that stuck out to me, it was trying to rank the champions, and it was all 4 of them ranked, and then it was, I mean, even the worst one needs to get nerfed.
Yeah.
Like, they should be in pretty much every deck.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the champions. I do agree that even the worst one in Mighty Miner, which I believe is what most people said, some people swapped it out for Archer Queen. They're both incredibly powerful. I'm actually happy with where they're at in the meta right now. I don't think they really need a nerf, and maybe Minnie baits out a fake graveyard here. I think that's what he was going for with that dragon at the bridge, and he gets a +1 trade there.
Yeah, Minnie is actually one of the players that I have, the most respect for. I think he's one of the most intelligent players. He has that number 6 ladder finish. He did it with Eagle. That's in one of those metas where you need to be smarter than everybody else. You have to play and think about the game at a different level.
And talking about different levels, we're seeing it right now. Minnie aggressive graveyard, easy tower take there on the other side of it. What does he get? He gets this same push over and over out of Kevin. A Mini P.E.K.K.A. with an Ice Golem up front. Mini Minter, not Mini P.E.K.K.A., Mini Minter goes, all right, no problem. Let me just NATO that to King, get a good King Tower activation, good +2 elixir trade, and I'll win the game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the game, the only worry that he had was, let me make sure that the King Tower isn't going away. He just controlled the game from start to finish. Graveyard isn't a great deck in the meta right now, but one of the things that I can say for it is if you are talented and, you're a player that thinks that you're a lot better than your opponents, it's actually a great start off because you can think, oh, I can just control how this game gets played, and I can just win off sheer talent alone.
He's still got all of his champions available. He's still got Fireball. He's still got Log. Still so much available here for Minnie. We're taking a look here at our last match's graphics, but you know what? I love these graphics. I want to talk about it more because the giant skeleton's up there again, and I'm wondering how many more times we're going to see that card today. Maybe we'll see it again in this set. I'm not 100% sure, but it does feel like Kevin was a little bit, I don't want to say outclassed, so I'll say outclassed.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Hog getting ran. It's tough. I really like RG. I really like Giant Skeleton. I think those are the decks that you should be looking at. I do like that he used Archer Queen. We can give him props for that. But I want to see him go with heavier and, even lava. I want to see heavier decks from it.
Let's talk a little bit about Minnie in just a moment as we hop into game number 2. Here we go. Wall breakers at the bridge, Tombstone. This feels a little bit more on meta than what we saw in game number 1. And while we're sitting here hanging out, why not? Let's shout out our sponsors, Snapdragon. That's the hardest thing I said in my life, and they just stopped sponsoring us because of me. Snapdragon, where winning matters, think Snapdragon, and that could not be more true right now for Kevin R.A. He needs to win this game or he's going to go home with absolutely nothing. And Minnie played really clean in game 1. He decides to go graveyard.
And right there, that's an aggressive graveyard. Fireball is going to be perfectly placed. Spirit Goblins plus the bats are going to be great. And he's not going to get any damage whatsoever. Wallbreaker's pressure on the other end. I like that this is starting to look like a minor Wallbreakers deck. We've seen a lot of drill Wallbreakers and just drill in general. And while it does have a fair bit of success, the minor Wallbreakers, I tend to think is a stronger version.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bigger fan of that anyway, just because Miner is one of my favorite cards in the game. And I think what I really kind of can pin this down to, AC, is it feels like Kevin isn't really respecting Minnie the same way that Minnie is respecting Kevin, right? You saw last time when Minnie went with a graveyard aggressive at the bridge, Kevin decides to go Mini P.E.K.K.A. plus Ice Golem. You saw it again here where he's trying to get a graveyard in or force a graveyard in early on. Minnie's able to clean that up for an easy positive elixir trade. And now not only is Kevin down still, but Minnie feels like he's in much more control of this game mentally.
Right there, Wallbreaker's Bridge forces out the Skeleton King, and you're not going to get any value from the Skeleton King whatsoever. You're not going to get, troops to die off and feed into the ability. Instead, you get that pressure going. It kills off the cannon card, so you don't have to worry about that. And then you still get damage from the Spirit Goblins. All he's doing is getting the tower lower and lower as double elixir happens, as triple elixir happens. that's when he can get really aggressive, and that's when the game just finishes like that.
I'd say of all the champions that are in the game right now, the Skeleton King is the last one you want to use in a desperation moment because he's always the most successful when there's been a plan behind using him, right? Whether it's the Tombstone Skellies or the Graveyard Skellies, or even an aggressive bait push or swarm push from your opponent. Whereas we're seeing here Kevin not being able to really use that card. I mean, I saw Juicy J tweeting about it the other day. He posted a video. He's like, push the button and win. And if you get that Skeleton King loaded up on souls, it really can do that for you.
Can he get the timing? He does. I was wondering if he was going to be able to pull that off. It's still on the tower, 513. Unreal push right there. He does have the Skeleton King's ability up, but
it's over, man. 146 remaining. All he needs is a fireball. He's going to use the log defensively. And second verse, same as the first. 2 quick 2-0s, and we've already eliminated 2 of our pros that we talked about in our show open. Boss is gone, Kevin is gone, Minnie moving on, as is Ian and Rimapon, and it's been a very, very aggressive and successful for half of the competitors.
Right. Right there. That was, I couldn't get it out because it's, you know, can he pull off that timing? Who knows? I'm not even going to mention it because I want to be, you know, on the edge of my seat with the audience. Can he pull it off? He does. Is able to get the tower so low, and just like that, I was thinking, oh, you know, he can get some minor chip, minor fireball, you know, possibly some wall breakers on the tower, or he can just get a Golden Knight dash that goes to 18 different troops and then the tower.
I think it was Rich that said it, whereas the Golden Knight used to be incredibly unpredictable. Now that it's, you know exactly where it's going to go, people have kind of locked down the mechanics there. It's become the second or the strongest champion in the game. I think Skeleton King still takes the strongest in the game because it's basically a 2-elixir graveyard. But you talk about that Golden Knight, he is so fascinating, and Minnie has got all of those micro interactions, as he usually does, completely locked down.
Right. I want to take a look at the spells elixir. 26-9, and in Kevin's deck, the graveyard counts as that spell. So he has 3 spells right there, but he can't get it out because of that constant pressure with the Golden Knight, the Wallbreaker's Bridge, minor bats. What he did in that match, it was unreal. The constant pressure that never allowed for his opponent to set up.
Yeah, and that graveyard really just kind of buries you early on.
I mean, fantastic pacing so far.
We're humming along.
These players came to play today. I mean, yet again, you guys already mentioned it, another 2-0 on the board, but there was also some action happening in the background that we get a chance to see here now as we get an updated look at the bracket. So obviously, we just watched Minnie push through on this bracket, but look at all the other names. Are any of these names jumping out at you? I mean, we got Magma made their way through. You've got Betfast made their way through. You talked about some of these people at the top of the show there, Josh.
Yeah, Betfast is the one that Diego said he was looking out for most. He is an unreal player. He was able to finish #1 on ladder. I mean, he's the only one who can still actually, you know, make Muhammad Light worry when trying to go for that #1 finish. He is a great player. And then the other one I wanted to look at, what was it? Magma. His name used to pop up a lot 2-3 years ago. You know, haven't really heard about him recently. I guess now we're seeing, you know, he still has it.
And what you're talking about right there, Josh, Diego B giving props to Betfast. Well, that could be his next matchup as long as he's able to take down Moons. And, you know, I think the biggest thing right here, Glitter, is that there's no surprises in this bracket. I feel like the people that you think were going to move on did. I'd say the only one that is a kind of a coin toss would be that Boss and Ian matchup that we saw to start our day.
Okay, well, talking about everything going according to plan and being pretty expected, the next matchup, all right, Andrew, is actually going to be between the Lost versus Ardent Toas. So we've got to talk about it.
I would be blown away if the Lost beats Arden. And this has nothing to do with the Lost, and it has everything to do with Arden right now. I feel like he at least seems like one of the top 5 players in the game, which is just crazy for me to say. But you look at the Lost right here. He went 14-5 in sets. He's got an 8K finish there, top 120 on ladder. He's a guy that's on his way up, and we've started to see a little bit more of him this year, Josh. I think he popped up in our first month's qualifier, or maybe the second. I'm not 100% sure.
10th place, Brenchon Cup Golden Edition, and then, yes, the 120 ladder finish. Yeah, I mean, the Lost, he's kind of putting things together, but right here we do see in the replay, and against Kevin it appears, look, if you are going to be someone who isn't as popular, if you're going to be someone who isn't as well known, you want to stick to what works.
Yes.
And what works, you have the mortar, you have the cannon cart. You want to use those meta decks that are meta in tournaments because, you know, obviously they're meta for a reason. And obviously, if you believe in yourself, you can win pretty much any matchup. And that's kind of what you need to be going for when you're these kind of players. You want to be able to put yourself in a position to win.
Oh, and you see right there a missed poison, and this actually goes in favor of Kevin. So even though lost to Kevin, he is going to be succeeding hopefully here against Arden, but that's a lot easier said than done. So we did see Lost in Bren Chong in that 10th place spot, but when you talk about Arden, 2nd place in CRL 2021 round 8, that's the first time that we really saw him kind of pop on our radar, at least the first time that I did. But since then, 2nd place in the Queso Cup Golden Edition, where he walked away with $15,000 just a couple weeks ago. And the numbers also, I mean, I say this all day because there's so many of them that are so kind of hit you in the face. 13-1 in sets, a number 6 finish on ladder. Arden is no joke, man. And also, I'm a big fan of Sudden Death, and he got 3rd place in the Sudden Death Global Tournament.
That's the only accomplishment he doesn't have in the past like 3 weeks. 6th on ladder in May 2022. That just happened. He is in top form. We see it in this game. We saw it at the beginning of the day. The way he pressures correctly, his use of the correct decks. You know, one thing that I was actually pointing out in the Queso Cup was, you know, it's kind of predictable. He uses RG, he uses Mortar. You know, while that is kind of predictable, it says a lot about the player. He knows what he has to do. If he can put it all together, kind of throw in those weird decks once in a while, he obviously has the talent. You know, he can easily make that run.
All right. This is probably going to be another really exciting match. But if you guys have been enjoying what you've been watching so far at home, why not participate? Okay, Split 2 signups are open. You can head on over to snapdragonseries.com for more information to get yourself signed up and to potentially be up here in this bracket and having all of us talking about your performances. But I know, since it is your player to watch, Andrew,
My
for
boy,
the
Arden.
day.
I know we don't know each other.
But now you're boys.
I've claimed him.
All that matters is that Arden's matchup right around the corner, up against the Lost. So I am going to pass it off to you guys yet again as we continue to just completely blast through these games.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make it past 2 games so far, AC. It's been a very, very quick day, and Arden is the guy to do it. I mean, again, when you talk about up-and-comers, you talk about people that really know the game. You were talking about him specifically saying his diversification of decks. I think this was before we were on broadcast. But when you're that young and you're that new to the scene, you can also go comfort because people don't know you yet, right? People don't know what you're going to play in game number 1. I was watching some games of Betfus and Diego before that happened during the qualifiers for this. And, you know, I would say that Betfus came out with unsurprising decks a couple times. I mean, he's still incredible, so he still won a lot of those games. But that's the luxury of being an up-and-comer or even a relative no-name, which is some of the people that we're talking about today.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if Arden pulls out just one random deck per set, that's all I ask. I really think like at this point it's going to be, you know, Betfos and Arden as like the 2 guys that you really have to watch out for if they can all put it together. Arden especially, the mastery that he has over the decks that he runs is special. But obviously, we need to see something a little bit different.
And when you talk about kind of like that evolution of his gameplay, starting with, you know, round 8 or whatever it was of CRL last season where he got 2nd place, to think that from there he's only gotten better and better and better. You know, if he was older, if he had competed more earlier on last year in 2021, we probably would have seen him in World Finals. But that's enough out of us. Let's hop into the game. Lost, top of your screen. Arden Toas at the bottom. Here we go.
The Lost going to be using Hog and Ice Spirit. Arden Toas could be running RG, could be running something else. All I ask is that it's not RG, but look, I mean, the reason why I say that, and as we see the RG, is because it's kind of easy to predict. At the end of the day, he still finished top 3. The reason why, he's just so good with those decks.
Yeah, and he goes really, really aggressive, and just like that, RG on the tower, tanking for that Royal Ghost. Royal Ghost going to town. Tower going to be down below 700 below 400 HP in the first opening seconds of this game. And you talk about a demoralizing start. That's got to feel really rough for Lost.
That was such an impressive Mighty Miner as well. Forces out the Archer Queen in response from the Lost, places it so that it's walking to the right, but uses the ability right as the giant skeleton dies, so it walks to the left.
And then a little insult to injury there. The lightning comes in, takes out the AQ, and the Lost goes, you know what? Fine. Giant skeleton at the bridge is getting a tower. Hog Rider in tow.
But the thing is he going to be able to even get that much damage?
No.
Fisherman yanks the Hog to the King Tower. You know, the Hunter's gone from the giant skeleton, but it doesn't really matter. That is a 7 to 11 trade with 1 Hog shot and 1 tower down.
You know, one thing that we're seeing a lot today, Josh, and something that we don't really like to see are emotional responses when you take a lot of damage, right? It's one of the hardest things to do in the game. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you have been as well. You take a lot of damage and you go, all right, if I took all that damage, I must have a bunch of elixir. Let me punish them. But the elixir management is on point for Arden. You can't just go for a sellout push at the bridge like that. You have to respect the cycle. You have to respect the elixir. And he had Fisherman in cycle. There's just no way he's going to get the damage that he wants.
Yeah, that's just not the push that you need to be setting up. Right here, another great lightning. You know, it's pretty simple. Archer Queen is on the board. You go lightning right there. We see it happen. And this Mighty Miner, we talked about it earlier on, you know, it's not the most popular, but it's still a great card each time, taking out the giant skeleton completely and also just allowing the board to just kind of stay in that stalemate. You know, we don't really want a lot of things happening if we're Arden. We kind of just want the game to be over.
You know, I'm going to say this. I understand what you're saying about him, you know, probably not wanting to run RG in game 1, maybe in the quarters, semis, or even in the finals. That makes a lot more sense. But you talked about it in the last set. When you know you're better and you're playing the deck that you're best with, you look at what he's got here, and he just put the hurtin' on the Lost, and he used the least popular champion. And he used one of the least popular big spells in the game, as Lightning isn't quite as popular as it used to be. Just a great showing in game number 1 from this rising star.
Yeah, I don't know if Arden was listening to the commentary, but he wanted to do the little ability trick once again, yanks the little Mighty Miner off to the right lane. We see this, the opening push, and he got the tower all the way down to under 400 HP. I mean, you cannot be allowing that to happen. It's just the giant skeleton. Yes, it's a great card, but it is heavy. It is 6 elixir. You can't really just play it whenever you want to.
Yeah, and then, you know, I understand the idea that the Lost goes, well, there's a Fisherman on the board. That means that's bad for him if the giant skeleton's played in the same lane. Well, kind of, you know, right? That giant skeleton needs to be a lot higher up, and that Fisherman needs to be a lot lower towards that Princess Tower if you really want to get that damage in. And then right before that replay cut was the moment you were talking about. Another great Mighty Miner ability use. Baits out the AQ, gets a lightning in, brings the tower down to below 100 HP, and the rest of it's just kind of all the history books. Easy pickings for Arden in game 1.
Yeah, right there, Buildings Elixir 4. I mean, he just was never able to play it. He played the bomb tower once, and the tower just disappeared like that. I mean, just total control immediately from the beginning of the game. And, I mean, even at the end of the game, he was placing his troops on the other side of the map to not even allow the troops across. That's just...
He's like, you know what, I already won. So let's just hang out here at the bridge. We'll grab a couple drinks, you know, maybe talk a little trash, and then we'll go on to game number 2. Arden, easy win in game number 1 with a deck that he is known to be very, very good with. The entire meta still wide open for him. He could go to control, he could go to miner, he could go to mortar. There's so much that he can still do. The Lost, Boss, and Kevin, in these first 3 sets, I've seen a lot of really, really uneducated or unadvised pushes that are hyper aggressive, which is not something I'm used to seeing out of any of those guys.
Right. Yeah. You know, you can always chalk it up to nerves. You can always talk about, you know, inexperience. But a lot of these players, they have competed for a while.
Right.
They shouldn't be making these mistakes. I mean, you know, you're in the comfort of your own home. You don't even have a camera on.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't have all the excuses that are always ready. You don't have that. And so at this point, it's on them.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny when you talk about those nerves, just this best of 3 single elimination is grueling and unforgiving. So here we go. Can Lost be the first one to turn around a set? Can he be the first one to pull off a reverse sweep? And I called it, and I love it. He goes right to Mortar. Why not? It's one of the strongest win conditions in the game. They will never nerf Mortar as long as I have a caster. That's not true, and I hope they don't. They might do it now just because I said that. But here we go. Arden the bottom of your screen, rocking a Mortar deck, a little bit of a variation with Snowball, but still kind of popular because it helps that minor chip damage.
Yeah, the Lost going to be running Tombstone, Zap, Baby Dragon, Mega Minion. Zap is not a very popular card. You know, it can be used with Golem. It can be used with a lot of different decks. And we do see it. Okay, so it looks like it's just going to be a Lava deck. And right there, Zap isn't popular, but when it's used in the right decks, it can get a lot of value.
You know, I like what Lost did there, and we do see some damage coming on that tower. Okay, all right, 23-19 to 21-72. I like the cleanup that he played on the left side of the board. I like the Mighty Miner, and then he was able to support that Mighty Miner with that balloon, getting some good damage in. So a great start here for the Lost. Arden Toa's going to reset and figure out, okay, I'm probably going to be a little bit more careful with my AQ.
Absolutely. Lava in the back. You only have Archer Queen and Bats, and at the end of the day, you don't really have Bats. You have an Archer Queen, but the Bats are going to get zapped off every single time, and I love this from Lost because, you know, you talked about it earlier, a lot of these players are kind of making pushes that don't make a lot of sense. Right here, it does make sense. You can give up 300 HP to the miner. You're trying to take this tower completely.
That's right, and min-maxing is something that you really have to do, and especially at the highest level, but especially when you have a heavier deck. Damage still coming in on that tower with the death damage. You got to know when to take damage to give damage, and Lost is doing a great job of that here in Game 2.
55 seconds left, cycles the Skellies. He's trying to get that pressure onto the tower, but he doesn't really have the greatest answer for it. The cannon cart can always get cleaned up nicely from the Mighty Miner. And then, you know, one of the reasons why I like the Mighty Miner so much, you can defend the cannon cart with it, and then you can just bring it to the other lane. That's why I like it so much.
What would you do, AC, right now if you were in Arden's shoes? What does he need to do to kind of turn this game around? I know he's not down and out really, but he is down by about 600 HP. How does he turn this back around?
Okay, I promise you I was actually going to say this. I was going to say, you know, he needs to start placing things at the bridge. The cannon cart at the bridge.
Beautiful.
If it doesn't get pushed off, that could take the tower down, but it does get pushed off. Brilliant play right there from Lost. But yeah, he needs to continue to cycle everything at the bridge. That is how he wins this game.
I really like that Miner in front of the cannon cart push. Now we see a Mighty Miner going to the opposite lane. Not going to get a whole lot out of there, but will take the AQ out of play. AQ will get back in cycle, and it does not get a shot, even though I guarantee you that drill was touching that tower. He just didn't get to turn it on yet.
Cannon cart, brilliance right there. Able to get the right lane down, and then also take out the Tombstone. Mortar should lock right there. And I don't know, I feel like I just heard the zap get used. So if he protects this Mortar, and that's why we see it.
Second shot comes in. That should do it. This deck cycles relentlessly, especially with the AQ on the board. Should be able to get right back around. Skelly's out, Bats out. Get that Miner in, get that Fireball down.
He's used all his ground units. So the Miner plus the Snowball plus the Fireball should take it completely out. Fireball.
Not gonna do it. Needs a little bit more HP. I think Fireball's 207 now? They changed him a while ago, but I'm old, man. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, there's a little bit of silence from me, so, you know, I didn't want to say anything. There we go, Fireball plus. Yeah, it is 207. Good stuff.
I still got it, guys. I still got it, and so does Arden. Another quick 2-0. But I gotta say, even though he got eliminated, he gets to walk away knowing that he played a really good game too. The Lost does.
Yeah, I mean, he did everything he needed to do. But when you're going against players that are at their peaks, at their peak form, the cannon cart bridge, look, it's simple. Oh, you know, he doesn't have a lot of ground units. Let me just spam at the bridge. But there's a reason why everybody says spam at the bridge.
Right.
You don't have the right responses. You play 7 Elixir, your opponent can just go Miner in front of the cannon cart. That push is deadly if it can get on the tower. Even though it got pushed off, it still got that 500 damage.
It's a brilliant recognition because what does he do? He has to have Miner in cycle, cannon cart in cycle, and Snowball in cycle, right? That's the really most important part of that entire push because he knows the only thing that can stop him is a Mighty Miner, which was not in cycle, or a Tombstone, right? So what does he do? Aggressive cannon cart, aggressive Miner with the Snowball in hand. Beautiful push, beautiful recognition of cycle, and like you said, when you're at the top of your game, you're really, really hard to stop.
It makes me wonder if Arden got kind of excited when he saw his opponent use the lava. Because at that point, if he kind of just defends out, I don't know if he's going to be able to get past it. You know, the constant tombstone skeleton cycling through is going to make it hard for the mortar to lock. The cannon cart won't be able to get set up. But because he uses that lava, it allows him to just spam at the bridge and then kind of take control. The Archer Queen cleaned it up. You know, it took out the Mighty Miner as well. It shouldn't have been played at that point.
Right. And you talk about that zap kind of hamstringing Arden early on, being able to work right through that. And Glitter, it looks like I'm doing okay on my picks.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel good about it. Not only were you right, but he looked very strong.
Yes.
So that's a solid start to the bracket, but the bracket's not over. Okay, we still have yet to see Josh's pick, and we actually get to see them up next. But before we do, we're just going to take another little look back here at the bracket, refresh everyone in case you missed it. You're going to see Arden going up against Ian down there at the bottom. That should get a little bit spicy down there. We'll see how that one plays out. But to wrap up this first portion of the bracket, we now get to head into Diego versus Moons. I mean, you said it yourself. Former pro, former champion. I mean, there's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, and look, everybody said, you know, Diego B, he hasn't been playing in forever. You know, can he still compete? We see right there in the stats, 7-0. Yes, he can still compete. Yes, he does still have it. I was blown away from the fact that he only needed just one tournament and just, you know, 2 weeks of practice with me. We see it in this replay.
Just a real subtle, humble brag thrown in there.
We saw it in this replay. I mean, everything he does is still... He was one of the first players to start really thinking about how to play this game. He plays those cycle decks, but he also started playing Graveyard. You know, him, the God RF, you know, those guys are so smart with how they play this game, and you see it in the way they play Graveyard. I don't think Graveyard is that good of a deck right now. You know, the freeze one is all right, but I would love to see that be used from Diego. I think if there's going to be one player who can really use it to the best of its abilities, it's going to be him.
And that's when you truly understand the macro of the game, which is a lot harder to do than it might sound. Understand the macro of what your opponent has, what you need to do to win, and Diego has always been exceptional at that, as are most Graveyard players, which I did see him playing on stream just the other day. This is a little interesting. Diego B, former world champion, former CRL West champion, former world champion with Team Mexico, former WCG champion, and then we have Moons. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, he's got a 3,900 place finish on ladder, and he's from Mexico. That's literally all we know, but that can be great. You can play your comfort deck in every single game, and no one knows how to put their analyst on top of your game.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in this replay. Who else is using the Magic Archer, Cannon Cart, Ghost, Bandit deck? It's not very popular, and that gives him so many ways to outplay with deck choice. And, I mean, you know, obviously you're going against someone like Diego, but at the end of the day, you know, it's the era for everyone. Like, you know, this is his chance to show. Doesn't matter what you've done before, it matters what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and you talk about being able to make a name for yourself. What a great place to do it with Moons against one of the best players to ever touch Clash Royale in Diego B. This could be the biggest upset of the entire tournament.
Little bit of the unknown is most certainly here. Hopefully, your pick, the experience, will withstand that underdog potential storyline, but we get to find out right now, because that final matchup, matchup number 4, this first portion of the bracket's right around the corner. So once again, I must leave it in your very capable hands.
Let's do this. Diego B going up against Moons, one of the most celebrated, decorated players in the entire game, with the best organization, the best team that's ever been in CR. And he's going up against Moons. What a great way to build a legacy for yourself. And let's see if Diego B still has it.
Whew,
I know, I'm nervous.
I'm so nervous. I really want him to succeed right here. Fire Spirit, Log, Hog, you know, everything that I could have possibly said in previous sets, it doesn't matter. If I said don't use Hog game 1, don't listen, he's using it, that means it's the correct choice.
So here we go, a high Tesla knowing that RG was going to come down, seeing the Fisherman, seeing the Log, most likely going to be RG's. Diego does set up a defense with that Musketeer, takes one shot in, but has a decent counter push here. With 6 Elixir to defend is Moons. How's he going to do it?
right there. Musketeer does get the shot on top of it. Going to be a little bit of, and there we go. Musketeer locking onto the tower. I was thinking for a split second, the Fisherman might actually lock onto the must.
Me too.
But instead, you know, it's something that I always say with the God RF, you know, understanding its priorities. He saw the hog get into the tower. He knew, all right, you know, let me actually get the hog.
Yeah, different fishermen all for us out there in the world. Sometimes they do you right, sometimes they do you dirty. But right now, Diego B is in the lead, even with that log coming down for Moons. Logs out in both directions, 22-44 to 18-75. The other thing about Diego B, and since we talked about nerves earlier maybe affecting some of these players, since the first time I've ever met Diego, since I talked to his coach Eric, who is now one of the casters for CRL, he's a guy with ice in his veins. He's a guy that you always put in the highest pressure situations, kind of like the God RF was for Immortals, and then for Space Station, there's just certain players out there where the pressure does not get to them, and what a good trait to have here for Diego.
Wow, great defense so far. Everything was placed correctly.
Yeah.
And then also right there, Moons got kind of unlucky. The giant skeleton walked in front of the RG, forced the RG back. RG stopped hitting the Tesla, and then the Tesla was able to take out the giant skeleton all the way down to half health. And right there, you know, I talked about it earlier. When you're playing cycle decks, you want to have both lanes have damage.
Right.
And right here, you know, obviously he's going for the right lane, but he can easily switch this up if he needs to, if a Valk survives, and then he can just throw the hog behind it. A lot of the times when you're using a control deck, you kind of say, oh, I'll just kind of give damage to these quick cycle decks, and then all of a sudden that random tower disappears.
Wow, and there we go, our first mirror of the day. Mirror coming down for a level 13. RG, left-hand side, taking out that Tesla, and now Diego having to play some strong defense both sides of the board. Is he outmatched? 2 shots in, 3 shots in, a 4th shot will come down. Will he get the 5th? No, he doesn't, but he is almost in the lead, 1379 to 1308.
Yeah, I was going to say, brilliance right there to not utilize the Tesla, you know, not try and panic, but it did get a lot of damage. You know, I love what they did with the mirror. There's so many new possibilities with how it gets used.
I know.
Right there. I mean, it got the left tower down to 1379, and it was just an RG by itself.
Well, it's fascinating, right? Because the only way that we could do that before, Josh, was to get that Royal Giant down behind King Tower, let it walk all the way down the lane, cycle all the way back around, and then get that second RG out. But he played one aggressive on one side, mirrors it on the other side to snipe the Tesla, and I don't know. I want to try it out. I'll probably be terrible with it, but at least I'll have a good time.
There we go. Gets the tower down to
time.
7.
Both sides.
Yeah, he gets the tower down to 741. The Earthquake, the log, all the way down to 654. I like the giant skeleton. You kind of get one more opportunity to make a push. We should see something follow the hunter.
Oh, that
but
log,
if that
though.
log timing is correct, no. Gets stuck on the giant skeleton, and Moons will have one last chance.
Yeah, this could be dangerous here for Diego. He does play the RG and then the Fisherman, so there is no opportunity for double RG coming down. Skeleton's there to help clean up. Log goes down, I think, in maybe the wrong lane. That log should have pushed the RG back. 441, but Diego wanted the damage. Hunter in on the right side to defend the hog. 243, RG at the bridge. Who is going to win this foot race? Diego has nothing offensive on the board, and I think he might be in trouble here, Josh. Earthquake comes down.
Oh,
wow!
my goodness.
Look at that, a photo finish, and that RG was gonna get a shot.
It was just about to. The bullet an inch away. I actually don't know if it was, but you know, it was just crazy how that ended up. Moons with brilliant defense at the end of the game. There were so many opportunities for Diego to put it away, but no, places everything, you know, stacks it correctly, calculating it perfectly, gets stuck on the giant skeleton, stuck on the hunter, and then still, you know, even with the Earthquake log, can't get the shot.
Wow.
For a player as unknown as Moons, I was shocked and pleased by what he was able to do in, you know, game number 1.
I guarantee you Diego felt the same way. Maybe not the pleased part, but probably the shocked part. What a beautiful finish. Look at this. Log comes in, Earthquake ticking away. That RG will get a shot, not there in time, and Diego knows it. He gives the E-Wiz emote with the thumbs up going, all right, that got a little closer than I think it was going to when that game started.
I just love that deck from Moons.
Me
you know,
too.
If you're going to be running RG, Giant Skeleton, you want to go, you know, just make it different however you can. And to go with a mirror in that situation, I'm such a huge fan of Moons. Like, in this one game, my mind has completely flipped from, you know, obviously cheering for Diego to, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to see this get to a game number 3.
And that's why Diego and I are better friends than you two. I mean, I didn't want to say it here on broadcast, but I'm just going to do it. Diego B picks up game number 1. Moons by the skin of his teeth over Moons. And I have to admit, I really enjoyed what I saw out of him as well. You know I did you a little dirty in your intro, Moons, but it's only because you're going up against the most decorated player in the entire tournament, which is a true David versus Goliath situation. And I'm impressed. I would love to see the set go to 3. I think about the cards that are available, the cards that are not. Do you think Diego maybe goes to Graveyard? Or do you think he's going to give a little bit more respect to Moons now and maybe go something else that's firm in the meta like Mortar or even Lava, something like that? Because I know he's been playing a lot of GY.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of still want to see him go, you know, that Graveyard route. I wouldn't mind seeing him go Freeze. Maybe it's because we talked to the producer and he said, oh, Hog Freeze, and now everything is like, I kind of want to see Freeze be used competitively, but I really do. I want to see him use a newer deck. We saw it in game number 1. Moons came ready to play.
Yeah, I love it. I love the variability there. I love the fact that he came out with something crazy in terms of using the mirror. It's just something that I think a lot of pros are still kind of scared of doing at the highest level. So here we go. Diego, top of your screen. Moons at the bottom, and it looks like he might be going to that no big spell, Overwhelm, Heal Spirit with Magic Archer deck. I know there's only been 2 cards played, but that's just a thought.
I'm very excited for this. I want to see if that thought is going to be correct. And there we go. Cannon Cart, Magic Archer.
Looking okay for old Drew. Cannon Cart doing work in both lanes there. Dark Prince in to help clean up. Magic Archer getting some good value there for Diego.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That is a beautiful, beautiful interaction.
Miscommunication. Dark Prince does not understand its priorities and is not able to take out the Magic Archer and only lands 1 shot on the Ram Rider. Even then, still only 2 shots from the Marcher. In a good spot, both players kind of damaged, but not that bad. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting deck or matchup. I love seeing matchups when both players don't have a big spell.
Yeah, it definitely makes things really interesting towards the ends of the game. You know, it's going to be all about Overwhelm and cheeky stuff like that early on. I like that aggressive NATO back. He is down in Elixir, and Diego's going to try to punish him, but I guarantee you Moons maybe goes for a 1 card. Yep, there it is. 1 card to do both. Kites that Royal Ghost over, right into the lane of that Golden Knight.
It's very interesting because he could have activated King Tower. He could have used the NATO on... Wow.
That's trouble, man. Yeah, I'm glad you stopped because I didn't want to cut you off. That Mega Knight jumping over the bridge, now going to the right-hand side for the Dark Prince that was going to try to pull aggro off the Golden Knight, misses the Golden Knight, leap in, set over, my friend. There's just no way to come back.
Yeah, I mean, the brilliance of having no big spell in both decks is you know it's going 5 minutes, and there it is. Big spell.
That's why we're better friends, man.
So yeah, I mean, Moons played a great set, and obviously this is not done, but at this point it is so difficult, especially knowing your opponent has Lightning. You're kind of looking for that 10 seconds left, Marchers on the tower, you know, NATO, drill, this could happen. At this point, you don't really have that opportunity.
Yeah, and it's really hard to overwhelm those guys that are this confident in their gameplay, right? Diego knows how to lock stuff down. He's a great player at dropping things at the very, very last second. He never gets too overwhelmed or ahead of himself on his defenses. And that's kind of the story of game number 2 when you talk about how much Moons was kind of pouring in to the bridge and near the river. Diego was firmly up in Elixir, which is why that MK was able to do so much.
And right there, another 2-0.
Wow.
I'm kind of blown away about this. And this set right here didn't feel like a 2-0. I felt like Moons made one major mistake. Obviously, the Dark Prince is not going to be something you really want to see.
Yeah, this right here is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I just... Overall, I think he played a phenomenal set. It was one of the more impressive sets I've seen from, you know, the losing side.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that that Golden Knight didn't get the aggro on top of that Dark Prince. That Dark Prince would have been taking the brunt of the MK and the Golden Knight, but that Golden Knight wouldn't have been living on the tower like it was there. And really, I mean, when a healthy Golden Knight gets on tower and you don't have a ton of Elixir to pour right into the defense, it's going to take away at least half that tower's HP.
Right, yeah. you know, anything that's on your tower when it's these kind of troops is just going to do a lot of damage. And right here, you know, we talk about it, Elixir leaked. This is why, you know, you can't always look at that kind of data. When you have a deck like Diego's, you have that Mega Knight, you have that Ram Rider, you're okay with leaking 1 or 2 Elixir to set up that correct push, to allow the magic, like the opposing Magic Archer to cross that bridge. And right there, everything he did was perfect. He said it when, you know, we were texting. He was like, I have a real shot. I'm in peak form.
And he looked really, really great there. Already half of our players have been eliminated. Our round of 16 has just come to an end. Let's take a look here at our bracket. I'm going to call it right now, AC. This second round is going to be dramatically different than what we just saw.
I mean, you know, even just 1 game win from someone else is already different. We have, you know, the first match is going to be a match between 2 players that aren't super, super popular. After that, I mean, Diego Betfoss, Minnie Asael, Ian Arden. This is happening exactly how you would write it up.
And this is why you love the Snapdragon Pro Series. Don't go anywhere. 8 goes down to 4 when we come back.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
I gotta get it, I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, now I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited. Keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look. I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane.
Welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series. No surprises here so far. Everything seems to be playing out exactly as at least our casters have expected it to play out. As we take a look back here at our bracket, the next matchup right around the corner is going to be the one up at the top. You see Rimapon versus Magma up there, and I don't know if it's going to go the same way that the first portion of our bracket did, but we'll have to wait and see here. Hi, I'm Glitter Explosion, your host, joined by Andrew and Josh, who have been doing a fabulous job so far, but now we have to really start diving into those matchups, specifically the one that I just talked about, and it's going to be Remapon versus Magma. Things aren't going to be so easy this time around.
I really don't think so. That's a really great point that you make. This round 2 is going to be so much more competitive than I think what we saw. All these guys are coming off of wins, right? So they've got that confidence coming into this round. They're all the more seasoned players. Now that might seem odd because who is Rimapon, who is Magma? Well, like you said, we've heard a little bit about Magma, but Rimapon, again, have I said this yet today? The numbers don't lie? Have I said? I don't think I have. So the numbers don't lie. 7-0 in sets, just like what Diego B did there. 125 is his highest finish on ladder, but he was our #1 seed. Right? So you talk about everyone in this tournament, all those big names, all those great games that we saw. This was the guy to watch. You know, when you watch what he did here against Arden Toas, who we were just celebrating, you know, Rimapon being able to do that. Arden, I think, was what, 7-1? I think in his sets. So here we go. This is the set that he lost. So maybe, just maybe, we might get a rematch. But I'm excited to watch this guy. I don't really know much about him, AC.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about him. I'm going to steal your notes right there.
Thanks for the credit.
Clash Royale record, 50 times for GC wins in a week. I mean, that is unreal. That is like 18 hours of Clash a day.
How many GCs have you done in a week at your best, at your highest, like, you know, when you were practicing 8 hours a day?
I was never great at GCs. I like to say I got bored, but, you know, I didn't have a lot of success once we hit that 9, 10, 12. But yeah, I was probably looking at like 3 to 4 on average.
Okay, all right. So, you know, only like 46 less, so not a big deal. Right. And then when you look at Magma, 15-4 in sets, a top 10 finish on ladder, though. So you talk about what these guys are kind of bringing to the table. You have Rimapon, who's 50 GCs in a week, which is, again, just kind of a mind-blowing marathon there. And then Magma on the other side of it, a top 10 finish on ladder. He got first place in the Queso Cup Summer Split last year in NA. And he's got a first place global tournament finish with Draft, which is, I mean, this was back in 2019, so a little older because we don't see draft tournaments too much anymore.
Right, but you know, I don't want to take away from older accomplishments. No. I still put, you know, finish top 3 on ladder in my bio. Yeah, I mean, look.
Swipe right, ladies.
Right here, you know, Magma was a player that was definitely one to watch for approximately 2 years.
Right.
And then there wasn't a lot of tournaments, and he kind of just fell off, and, you know, no one even really knew what was happening on, you know, the competitive side. And this is kind of the story for a lot of these North American players. There's just not a lot of opportunities. And so right here, you know, this is going to be one of those times. Is it real? Is he able to utilize this opportunity? He was able to do it in the past. Can he do it again?
Potentially a little bit harder of a matchup to call before we see how any of the gameplay goes, but Chad, I'm still going to put the pressure on you, and I need you to call it. I want you to tell us who you think is going to be winning this match. Prediction poll right down there at the bottom of your screen. Make sure you let us hear your voice, because I want to know if you guys are smarter than the two casters sitting up here on the sofa. And as we kick off the next portion of the bracket, yet again, I must pass it back off to you boys.
All right, here we go. Glitter, AC, let's do this. Rimapon and Magma. I'm excited to see what we got. Rimapon top of your screen, Magma at the bottom, and a very aggressive Hog Rider to start here for Magma.
Barely can even load in, and Rimapon using 9 Elixir to stop a Hog. we try to keep it where, I mean, that is not a positive Elixir trade, but that is all right. It's early on in the game. Technically, you can get away with that because you know, you really don't want to be the first one to lose that tower damage. Maybe it's like an ego thing, but you want to do it first.
So here we go. Golden Knight will probably actually go down the left-hand lane here. Does, and dashes on top of a Fire Spirit. Really nice placement on that Fire Spirit. That was brilliant. That was one of the coolest micro interactions. If you guys want to pull that in the booth, we can geek out about it later, but that was so smart. The high Fire Spirit to keep the Golden Knight there so that the Giant Skeleton Bomb killed it. Magma's living in the future.
That was so cool. You know, maybe it's because I'm tired, but like my eyes are watering because, you know,
no, you're crying. You're crying.
Yeah, of happiness because I was able to witness that. That was great. I don't think I've ever seen that idea be used.
We were talking about this yesterday about how it's like so fun to watch pros because every now and then you'll see something you've never seen before, and it's harder and harder as the years go on, but that was something that we have never seen before. Props to Magma. I'm sure Rimapon got a little well played there in his mind, but you don't want to give your opponent too much credit as you're going against them. Just 20 seconds remaining before we get into double Elixir as Magma leaks just a little bit of Elixir. Remapon has a Royal Ghost on the field.
A whopping, 25 damage on Magma's towers. He has played some fantastic defense so far. And look, if you're going against a control deck with no big spell, that's going to be required of you. You are going to have to defend perfectly for 5 straight minutes. You have that Giant Skeleton, you have that Hog. Can he protect it? I thought he did, but no, it appears not. Luckily for him, goes back to the cannon instead of the tower.
These interactions, the Clash Royale gods are definitely leaning in favor of Magma at this moment. I mean, damage is still in a very, very kind of a stalemate here, 2965 to 3002. Game still is anybody's, 30 seconds remaining in regulation. That Magic Archer, though, is going to get some good damage. High AQ to take it off the board.
Uses the log to push it off, actually take it completely out. Can he get the push? Does have the Hog. Is he using the invisibility? Ghost somehow, some way is not hitting the Archer Queen.
Wow.
And it fully stays alive with that Giant Skeleton Bomb. Wow. I don't know what, I mean, the game blessed Magma for his micro interactions, and so, you're allowed this one opportunity to keep this alive.
Yeah, everything going wrong for Rimapon there, even though he's still doing a great job in terms of how much damage he's taken, even though there was a Giant Skeleton, AQ, and Hog Rider on his side of the board, and his units were not doing their due diligence defensively. 2762 to 2080, minute 45 remains.
Giant Skeleton Hog finally gets the Archer Queen behind the Giant Skeleton, which is always going to be the play. Will the Lob be able to take it out? It does. Nice little heads-up play, is able to take out the Magic Archer completely. And are we going to see the invisibility get popped? Magma is in control.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Snowball has to come out. 2 Elixir in favor of Magma, who is going to get another Giant Skeleton down on the board. 1486 to 2466. Rimapon needs to create some offense, but he's having so much difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, even right here, he's going to get another Giant Skeleton Hog push. Yes, you are getting a little bit of chip damage, but you need to think of something else. You, at this point, maybe with triple Elixir, the story changes. But with double Elixir, it's clearly not working. You have to set up, you have to Ghost in the back, you have to Cannon Cart in the back. I like that he's doing this. Even now, you need to switch up your plays.
Just wondering if it's just a little bit too late, and that time Giant Skeleton comes down, baits out the Golden Knight, no Hog Rider there. And Drill comes in and gets very, very little.
You know, at the end of the day, the Archer Queen can get nerfed 82 times in a row every single season, and it's still going to be viable for reasons like that. Yeah. Takes out the Cannon Cart, takes out the other card that I've already forgotten. But it's so good. It just always provides value on offense and defense.
And here we go. That Golden Knight will get on top of tower as well. Golden Knight, they're going to take out both those guards. Now Golden Knight's on the tower. No goes to the AQ. 2249. Rimapon trying to make something happen. No way, no how as the final seconds tick down. Magma going to dethrone Rimapon, at least for the first game of this set.
Yeah, that was some of the most impressive plays that I've seen from Magma. That game overall, you know, Remapon could have done other things. He could have, you know, cycled it in the back. But overall, it was constant pressure and just great interaction knowledge from Magma. And it's not often we get to say he deserved the win.
Look at that. There it was right there. That's the dash.
Fire Spirit like that, you deserve to win. I don't care. I don't care.
And I love the fact that he knew that Rimapon was going to use the Golden Knight ability to try to get away from the Giant Skeleton. So the placement on that Fire Spirit was just absolute brilliance. And there you go. This is actually what you were talking about a little bit later on, Josh, was just the value of that AQ on the left-hand side. Rimapon having to pour Elixir into that defense, so he takes a ton of damage on the right side.
Yeah, I mean, Archer Queen invisibility popped perfectly, protects the Archer Queen with the guards on top of the Ghost. Everything was done right by Magma. I mean, start to finish, just an unreal player. And, I mean, look, he played that so well. Look at the final HP. It's cool that we get to use that. 80-19, his towers were touched, but not by a lot.
I know. Just absolute dominance there defensively. And then you look at the Elixir leaked. 12 Elixir leaked on the side of Magma, making calculated plays. That's what it's all about. Don't play that Fire Spirit. Hold on to it. Leak the Elixir. Get it up high on top of that bridge so that Golden Knight will die to that giant skeleton bomb. Absolute poetry in motion in Clash Royale here. And, you know, Magma is our 8th seed, right? He's not really far down. He's still already made it through round number 1. So number 1 going up against number 8 right now. And number 8 in Magma doing a great job.
Yeah. I mean, even when, half the mistakes he made, I would have made those exact same mistakes, even if I would have been able to pause the game and, like, really point out how I wanted to place my troops. The Golden Knight kept getting those dashes where I was saying, of course it's not going to be able to hit. And then it was able to do so, but he always was able to protect his tower just in time. He threw everything at the wall at the end of the game just to try and make sure that his tower wasn't taken out. He played it so well.
So here we go, game number 2. Big shout out to our sponsors, Snapdragon. Where winning matters, think Snapdragon. And obviously winning matters in this tournament, but it matters exponentially more here in this second round, because if you lose, you get 500 bucks. If you win, you're guaranteed at least 1,000. So big shout out to Snapdragon. And I'm so sorry for my first call out to you guys. I really am.
I was going to say, the fact that you said it twice at the end, like, shows your confidence now.
I'm going to say it like 80 times before this broadcast is over. Nice fireball there from Magma. You see not a lot of damage in on his side of the board, but already a nice blow there. 2471 remaining on Rimapon's tower, and he's feeling the heat early.
Okay, and I was going to say, Magma looks to be using Royal Recruits, not a deck we often see. And I love the deck overall. It's definitely an obnoxious deck to go against.
Right.
But if you use it correctly and you get that great matchup, and right here, I don't know if it's a great matchup, but your Flying Machine will get 28 Elixir worth of value every time it gets placed on the board.
Because really the only thing you can do is kind of thread the needle with the AQ, right? That's the only thing you can do to get that Flying Machine off the board, is drop it right on top of it. AQ's opposite lane. Well, AC, you're up here for a reason. Look at that Flying Machine doing exactly what you said it would. And that's just a great recognition here by Magma of his opponent's deck. And now, what has he got? A mini P.E.K.K.A for Royal Hogs. Trouble already.
I mean, and then you have the Golden Knight walking over on the left. That is a scary walk when you know the ability can be popped. And apparently it's also just scary in general because, obviously he couldn't. But right there, Hog will get to the tower. Can he use the Zappy? Okay, I was going to wonder if he was going to try and Zappy plus Cage. Instead, just uses the Fireball, kind of just wants to reset and make sure he can get this victory.
And it ends up being okay because that Earthquake comes down from his opponent, so Magma back in the lead Elixir-wise, but rapid, relentless cycle. You see that Hog back in cycle, now the Goblin Cage up high. This Hog should get maybe a hit? No, it's too much traffic. Yeah, you get the Golden Knight in there as well, and there's no way he's making it through.
You know, we often see the Skeleton King, the giant skeleton. We don't often see 3 recruits, Golden Knight plus Brawler as the one to stop it. He said, I want it all. And right there, it works for him perfectly. Royal Hogs are going to do a little bit of damage. I mean, even with the Log plus mini P.E.K.K.A, he's still getting 300 damage.
And that's a -1 trade there, which Magma's happy to make all day long. We're going to see Zappies plus Cage again. There's the Cage, there's the Zappies. Zappies are focused on that mini P.E.K.K.A, and the Goblin Brawler does his job. Great placement there from Magma. Clean interactions from this young man.
I use the Brawler sometimes against Hog, and I place it without my opponent using the Earthquake on offense, and I still give up a shot. The fact that he defended that way, just brilliance right there. Flying Machine over the middle, exactly what he should be doing. Pressure on both lanes. Flying Machine staying alive. This could be it.
Hog Rider on the tower, down to 707. Royal Hogs on the tower, down to 143. Fireball in, and just like that, another 2 Oh, we have seen, I believe, one set in our entire bracket in the round of 16, I believe. Don't hold me to it. Don't got the greatest memory, but only, I believe, 1 or 2 have gone to that third game, whereas we're seeing this again here in the round of 8, now down to 7. Our #1 seed has just been eliminated, and it wasn't a surprise when we saw how Magma played.
Yeah, I mean, 28 seconds into the match, he already understood how to win it.
Yep.
He places the flying machine, he wins. Yes, he did give up a lot of damage as the game goes on, but that's going to happen. Your opponent is using a quick cycle, Ice Golem, Hog, EQ, AQ. It's hard to defend it properly. Right there, he gives up 500 damage every minute or so. That doesn't matter. You're going to get the tower down eventually.
And those guards need to be used by Rimapon to maybe defend those hogs a little bit better, but he has to use them to stop those recruits. So just really, really nice gameplay, a great understanding of the macro very, very early on. You called it AC, he's like, okay, he needs to abuse the flying machine. Then we saw that the only defense he had for the Royal Hogs that he had in cycle was going to be a log plus a mini P.E.K.K.A. So that's a -1 trade. You're taking 300 damage there. And what does Magma do? Rinse and repeat, walk on to the next round.
I mean, it's as simple as that. You just keep going with Royal recruits, and you keep going with flying machines.
I mean, we had talked about the potential for upsets, and we're already getting one here. As you guys said, that #1 seed going down in a 2-0 fashion.
Yeah.
Is right at the top of the quarterfinals of the bracket. I don't even, good job. I mean, this day is going really, really well so far, and you guys can see as the bracket progresses, Magma now moving on, and we are going to be doing the same, but we're actually going to be skipping over Diego and Beftos right now. We're not going straight to that one. Okay, we're giving Diego a little bit of a break and keeping you guys in suspense for how that one's going to go. We're actually going to be going into the matchup of Minnie versus Asiel next. So that should be exciting as well as we kind of walk through some of their numbers here.
Yeah, I mean, Minnie Minter, we talked about him at the top of the show, obviously, when we saw him going up against Kevin. A completely dominant set, really locking down all the interactions, playing confidently. But I think the bigger story in that first set was that his opponent, Kevin, wasn't really playing as good as Kevin usually does. And even in our qualifiers, as you can see here, Minnie and Kevin did have a little bit of beef going, but I do believe Kevin played just a little bit better. This is obviously our first set that we saw, and this is just, again, I think this is where I was saying he didn't respect Minnie, because you need to defend that graveyard. You can't just go in with mini P.E.K.K.A. plus Ice Golem against, Minnie. You got to give him just a little bit more respect than that.
Yeah, it really did feel like, my opponents usually make mistakes. And right there, Minnie is one of the smartest, one of the best in the world. When it's a meta that he, is successful in, he's honestly a top 3, top 10, scariest player in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say he's the best or, one of the top 10, top 3 best, but absolutely one of the scariest.
Yeah, and I think what you mean by that is that he can really win at any moment because he is that good with so many decks, but especially when the meta is in his favor, he becomes that top S tier, that top 1% of players in the world. Asiel, on the other side of it, is a guy that I kind of learned a lot about last season. You can see here 8-4 in sets, a #9 finish on ladder. He was 8th place in our World Finals, right? That's big time. Last year's World Finals, he showed up earlier on in the year, 16th place in the round 8 finals. But that alone, we saw what he did at World Finals. He finished higher than Minnie did, and he was able to be kind of that Cinderella story for us that entire 2-day event, and we'll see if he can keep it going here at Snapdragon Pro Series.
So one of the things that stood out for me is, not only did he do well in CRL, but I remember it was his set to qualify to the World Finals where he played against Pompeo and beat him 2-0.
Right.
And it was because, obviously he's talented, all these players are, but his deck selection is second to none. Even in the, even in the World Finals, he got some great matchups. He's not afraid. He is willing to play. If he thinks it gives him a 1% advantage, he will take that.
He's got that young, lively energy still where the game hasn't beaten him down yet. He goes aggressive. He plays what he wants, what he's best with. And, he's also had success in other tournaments. He was the winner of both fall splits of the ESL Mobile Open. So he's just a guy that we're all getting to see in all places of Clash Royale at the highest level.
And for all we know, today might end up being the day of the underdogs, and that could be you. You could be the next underdog or one of our champions, okay? Split 2 signups are open. Head on over to SnapdragonProSeries.com for more information to get yourself signed up. But speaking of those potential underdogs, all the storylines that are happening, quarterfinals matchup number 2 is right around the corner. You guys kept talking about the aggression that could potentially come out of Asiel, which kind of works with the theme for the day.
Yeah.
So once again, won't keep you guys any longer. It's time to get into that next matchup.
Let's do this. Asiel, can he keep it going up against one of the best in the game in Minnie Minter? Minnie, top of your screen. Asiel at the bottom. And Asiel maybe already looking like he's rocking Mortar. We'll see.
And Minnie, I love this deck choice.
Oh! Whoa! Expo!
Okay, I don't want to talk about Minnie.
Everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet. Studio, be quiet. Great log there. Does get an Expo connection early on, but we've seen Expo struggle at the highest level, but that was before the new meta of Expo. Can it work in CRL?
Right there. Oh, I was thinking, okay, you know, if it's the giant skeleton hog, and obviously when I look at it again, you know, it makes sense. But that's a lot of elixir to spend. It's okay, though. Expo is just so strong on defense. Even though his opponent has the RG and the Fisherman, he will be able to defend this without taking that much damage.
That was really nice by Asiel. He uses the Fire Spirit to distract, then he uses the Skellies to keep that Fish Boy at bay. He ends up taking a couple shots from that Royal Giant, but I'll tell you right now, if this was me, I would have lost my tower.
Right. That was beautiful how he placed the troops out of the way. Tesla low, Skeletons high, Bomber low. I mean, you knew your Bomber was gonna, your Bomber was gonna die, but the right tower was able to snipe the Fisherman just in time. He extended a lot, but I didn't use the word overextended because he knew exactly how he would defend.
So here we go. First blows landed on both sides. 23-51 with no Hunter shot coming in to 24-27 as an AQ is cycled in the same lane as that Valkyrie, a high aggressive rocket. I don't hate it. It's a -1 trade, but we'll see what he wants to do with this Valk.
Yeah, I guess he's just thinking as long as he gets the double elixir, that's when it actually really starts to matter. And we see him set up with the Expo low. You know, we're going to see the Tesla high. And then for the next 2-3 minutes, I haven't seen this kind of gameplay for the last 3 years, so I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, I mean, do you think this is the point where Asiel's already looking and going, if I just use my buildings and he uses EQ, I can win the spell cycle race?
Yeah, I think, he's looking for log chip, and I actually like this Archer Queen, but, cycled to the opposite lane. I mean, at this point, the Expo just gets so much value every time it gets placed. If the Earthquakes aren't consistently putting in work, I don't know if he gets past it. In this spot, Asiel is going to be in a great, in a great spot.
Minnie goes and loses that Giant Skeleton AQ to the Rocket, plus a little bit of help from, obviously, that Expo. Got a Tesla up high. Royal Giant does absolutely nothing. And Minnie finding himself in a very, very difficult position. He can't eat the damage of that Fire Spirit because he needs to stay within striking range.
That is unreal. Fire Spirit setting it up so that he has to use his Giant Skeleton. That's a 1-for-6, and obviously the Giant Skeleton is going to force out the Valk, but that 1-for-6 just allows him to get one last clean defense. The Tesla going to put in work. Can he defend it properly, though? Log should be enough. Skelly's not placed in time. That's kind of just a lot of damage randomly.
Yeah, I mean, Asiel actually had the beginning of that brilliantly played. He gets the log in so that the Royal Giant does not sneak in front of the AQ. He's able to take the AQ out of play, but then the wheels kind of fell off there at the end, and now you see Asiel, who's played a very clean game, kind of hitting that panic button, knowing that there's only 80 seconds remaining here, and he's down by 200 HP, but his opponent is going to keep up the pressure.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of what Asiel, even though this isn't totally going his way, this is what he's looking for. Triple elixir, this is when he can start to a rocket cycle. The Archer Queen, while scary, you have that Valk, so you're not really that worried. Now the question is, does he want to go rocket? Does he still think that he can afford to use it on the right lane? He says yes.
So there we go, 2297 down to 1849. Log comes in to bring it down to 2210, setting up a defensive Expo on that left-hand side. Minnie trying to decide what he wants to do. Last time that defensive Expo was played, he kind of just let it go to town on his units, and then he sent in an Electro Spirit late to just get a little bit of chip damage on the tower, a little bit of chip damage on top of that Expo. Rocket comes in again for Asiel. Will Minnie be able to punish him? He goes AQ aggressive at the bridge right behind that RG.
1600 to 1764, 2 Earthquakes, 2 logs against 1 rocket, 2 logs. Will he get enough damage? That's what you are saying for both players. Can he get this down in time?
1351 comes in, has to spend on that EQ. Aggressive Royal Giant comes down. High Skeletons. Rocket comes in, needs to cycle back around to the Tesla. No Tesla there. Log comes to push it back. Earthquake is in. There's the Tesla, but that is going to do it. The cycle getting ahead of himself was Hasael, and just like that, Minnie hangs on and takes the dub.
Wow. He was able to get it done. I don't know. I mean, triple elixir, that's when you think, oh, the Expo can finally start that rocket cycling. But that's the reason why this giant skeleton is so popular in this deck. You know, protecting the RG. It's hard to deal with. That's all it is. It's hard to deal with.
And you saw right there, just maybe getting a little ahead of himself, needs to play a little bit more defense, but he really needs that damage. Hasael played great there in game number 1. I guess the best thing that he can kind of take away from this opening game of this set is that the cards that he's used aren't extremely popular, or they can't be replaced easily in the current meta.
Right. I mean, look, you know, Expo, Tesla, Rocket, like, you know, Skeletons and Fire Spirits, but you don't often see the Expo, and you really aren't seeing the Rocket get used as well. I mean, that's just a great deck choice. It obviously doesn't work out well, and, you know, I say it's a great deck choice, but you do have to say, with the current tournament meta, can you get away with using that?
It's really tough because, you know, when it's a best of 3 single elimination, that game 1 feels incredibly important in terms of showing your hand, what's available next, what their analyst is going to do, and also confidence, right? Confidence is huge in Clash Royale. I like that he used a deck that isn't going to use a lot of things that he needs maybe later on in the set. I also like the fact that he plays something that no one's really expecting. But, I mean, since maybe 2018... it's really never been a good idea to run Expo in competitive because since it is one of the most popular decks in the game, you know, Expo, Hog Rider 2.6, Original Splash Yard, these guys have played against those decks for not just seasons, but for literally half a decade, right? So understanding the mechanics of being able to stop an Expo at the highest level, it's not really that difficult, even though they make it look easy.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, the way the last 4 years, you know, has set it up with having the meta be created, it's kind of created in a way where it says, I don't want to lose to Expo. And at the end of the day, like, a lot of these tournament decks are old ladder decks that are kind of fine-tuned, and when they are fine-tuned, they still defeat the Expo 9 times out of 10.
So here we go. Aggressive Magic Archer to get on top of that Golden Knight. Golden Knight not being able to take out that Magic Archer. Magic Archer gets a few shots in as that drill goes down on the left-hand side. Remember, if Hasael loses game number 2, he will be eliminated. That's a pretty bad NATO, in my opinion. A little bit of an overspend, at least.
Right. Definitely not what he was looking for, but technically he's up on damage.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe that was, even though I think it's pretty clear that it wasn't.
Yeah, I think he was trying to pull that Ewis to the right-hand side, hoping that his Dark Prince could get on tower on the left. But yeah, Hasael, if he loses game number 2 here, he'll walk away with $500 and a nice 8th place finish or 7th place finish. And then you'll see Minnie move on to where he's guaranteed 1,000, but set's not over yet.
A lot of damage coming in from that drill, getting it all the way down to 2042. And I mean, it comes with the fact that he uses that NATO, you know, not how it should be placed. And right there, kind of another mistake. It's clear that he's going to place a card down in time.
Yeah.
I don't understand the thought process behind him thinking that that's going to be the play.
It's like what we talked about earlier. You need to respect your opponent. There's no way that Minnie's just going to think that you're not going to do anything and that you're going to just be able to snowball the tower and it's not going to shoot the cannon cart, right? Minnie's going to play something. He's going to play the smarter thing to do, and he does just that. 1984 and 2562 to 2 very healthy towers at Minnie Minter's side of the board, both above 2400.
And there we go. You know, I don't know why this tournament is bringing out all of the matchups where both players don't have big spells.
Right.
But I just love to see it. This is kind of just who's the better player. A lot of mirror matches. A lot of people have said, oh, you know, it can be decided by cycle. It's one interaction. With the way these are set up, with the Magic Archer's bridges, with the drill, it's all about that constant chip.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to set up your pushes? There is so much thinking behind it, and it's just such a joy to watch.
And Hasael just really keeps giving Minnie those nice Magic Archer lineups. Good King Tower activation there by Hasael. It's going to help him out with cleaning up those Goblin drills when they do come in, but it's really been the Magic Archer has been the story for Minnie in terms of getting that damage on that tower. And this is tough, Josh.
Wow, towers all the way down to
Done.
820. Ewiz and the Magic Archer, all of a sudden, everything goes down. I don't even understand how that even happens.
A massive overwhelm there. Maybe we could take a look at those final moments of that tower dropping. Minnie felt like he was in control for so long, but you know, I'm sure this has happened to you. It happens to me too. You're in control of the game for so long, you kind of get lulled into a cycle or lulled to sleep. And then your opponent does something different and they make it happen. So here you see this huge overwhelm.
Yeah, you have the Ewiz, you have, and just right there, it is, you know, the Golden Knight is still so unpredictable.
Yep.
I always think, okay, it has to stay up. We saw it with Muhammad Light's gameplay in the Queso Cup. You just don't really understand where it's going. But at the end of the day, I think we need to learn it's going to the tower.
Yeah, and that bar barrel from Minnie didn't do him a lot of favors. Needed to be one tile higher, would have been able to get on top of that Ewiz, take the Ewiz out of play, which then would have stopped that from resetting over and over on top of that Golden Knight on tower. Magic Archer right behind the two of them doing work, and a great comeback there for Hasael. And I mean, if you look at the screen, the CMGs in front of both of their names there, you know, these guys know a lot about each other. I'm sure they've watched each other for a very, very long time, practiced together, played together, and we got ourselves, is this our first game 3 that we've cast?
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's crazy. I mean, how far are we into this? Pretty much halfway.
Yeah, I mean, you should know.
Right. Huh.
So we're getting to our very first game 3, and this is kind of what we were talking about when we came down to the round of 8. You know, Magma and Rimapon, we were wrong there. Magma just came out ready to go, but now in these other 3 ensuing sets, or I guess 2 now that we're halfway through, this one is just probably going to be a back and forth battle between some of the best in the game.
Yeah, and what a game that game number 2 was. I was looking at the data, and the one thing that really stuck out to me was Drill was used 4 times by Minnie and twice by Hasael. And so he really only had 2 legit pushes that entire game. And so it definitely felt like Minnie controlled it. Minnie had, you know, it in the bag, but I guess it just goes to show, like, that's why these players, you know, you can't really write them off because they understand just how they should be playing each and every matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been this very, very small elixir war that kept tilting in favor of Hasael, and that elixir was being kind of gained at the sacrifice of his tower HP for so long throughout that entire game number 2. It was just take damage, build very, very small elixir leads by units being on the board. And then Minnie, with that drill that came in right before he lost his tower, that was probably the over expenditure. That was maybe the moment where Minnie needed to sit back and go, huh, that Magic Archer's still alive. He's still got Elixir. That Golden Knight's still alive. Maybe I need to set up my defense. Instead, he goes offensive because he was really in control for so long. And Hasael saw his opening. He smelt blood in the water, and he went for it. And that's also what we love about those decks, those no big spell decks, right? It's just that brilliant overwhelm that can come at the bridge.
Oh, you know, I kind of want to do the thing that you've done to me for the past year and a half. What deck do you think... let's go.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there, Josh. We're going to go take a look here at the bracket. That's your job. My job is just to look at things on the screen and talk about them. So while we're talking, I have no idea what he's going to run in the game 3, okay? We look here, Magma 2-0, Rimapon. We were just talking about that. Diego B and Betfuss. That is going to be maybe one of the matches of the entire day. Diego B being like, the only guy I'm worrying about is the guy that he's playing in round number 2. And then at the bottom of the screen, Ardentoas beats the Lost. Ian and Boss going head-to-head. We weren't sure who was going to come out, but now we see Ardentoas going up against Ian, which, again, I've said it for, you know, both the big competitions that we've cast already. It does really feel like 2022 is kind of the changing of the guard in terms of the pros that you're going to see regularly. You know, there's a lot of players that we would have talked about before in the States that aren't here today. You know, one of them being a good friend of yours in Air Surfer.
Yeah, it really is astonishing that Air Surfer wasn't able to compete in this, and it's just really unfortunate because he's so talented, and it's scary to think about, you know, all these old pros not possibly having it. Like that does kind of hurt the heart. I mean, I've known some of these guys for 5-6 years.
Yeah, and, you know, and that's kind of the brilliant thing about CRL, and we'll keep gushing on this as we hop into game number 3, is it's been around for so long now. We've watched so many of the greatest players year after year after year. It's just like the changing of the guard in any major sport, in the NBA or the NFL. You hate to see your favorites go, but it's always exciting to see who's up next. And we were talking about winning mattering. Wow, 1-1 here. $500 goes to one, guaranteed 1,000 to the other. Hasael, bottom of your screen, wins game 2. Minnie at the top, controlling game number 1. Here we go. It's all on the line.
Usually when we see cards like bats, cards like bar barrel get cycled, we often see cards get followed. But right there, the arrows, it's clear both of these players are kind of looking for that double elixir. Let me set it up, and then I'll see how I want to prepare for this match to go on. Both players just okay. Is okay, and there we go. Giant Skeleton in game 3 from Hasael.
Arrows, bats with Musketeer.
Mega
Great. Yeah, maybe. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
All right, fine. Dana gonna pull that aggro, gonna help that Musketeer out, get a little bit more DPS. On top of that, Giant Skeleton definitely gonna need some help. You see that Dark Prince cycled in the back behind King Tower.
You know, the Zappy, while it's great that it was taking out the Musketeer, it kind of was unfortunate because the Giant Skeleton crossed the bridge, and it actually, wow, I was gonna say it actually allows it to survive. That E-Spirit got so much value.
Yeah, great value there from the E-Spirit. Takes out all of those bats, gets some good damage in there. Does get a shot on tower, 24-38. But look at that, Ram Rider doing what Ram Rider does. She gets right on top of tower with the charge, still there, still taking out that AQ. And arrows will actually take the Archer Queen off the board now. We'll see if Minnie wants to do that, and he does a smarter thing, decides not to.
You know, I bet Minnie was so excited when he saw the Zappies were out of cycle. This is, you know, when you go against Zappies, when you go against MK, those kind of cards, the Ram Rider, the reason why I don't play the Ram Rider is because it's not worth it when I go against those matchups.
Because it's that hard to win.
It's so difficult to just get it to the tower.
And you see there, he's got a lot of options, right? He's got the Zappies, he's got the Electro Spirit, he's got the Electro Spirit plus the Fish Boy. So there's a lot of ways that Hasael can deal with that Ram Rider. And, you know, the Ram Rider did get on tower the first time, did get some good damage in, but you never need to let that first assault get in your head because so much can change. And just as I'm talking, another beautiful Ram Rider goes coasting down the lane.
Yeah, and just a huge mistake right there from Hasael. He plays the Archer Queen too early, and it walks to the left, allowing free range for the Ram Rider to get to the tower. Depending on what his last card is, it could be Earthquake, could be, you know, Lightning. I'm not remembering what the spells are off the top of my head, but that is, I mean, you can't make those kind of mistakes in a game 3. It's almost like these players weren't prepared for a game 3 either.
So here we go, Hasael though firing back here. Giant Skeleton up front. Royal Giant does get a few shots in. It is a good amount of damage, but now has to deal with this push on the right-hand side. We talked about it a second ago. E-Spirit plus Fish Boy, but Fish Boy gets taken away by that MK. Ram Rider gets on tower again. 355 and the Bandit dash, and there we go. Minnie takes his second set of the day over Hasael.
It is so stressful as a commentator because every single tournament I have to say, why are you using Mega Knight? And then the very next tournament I'm saying, why are more people not using Mega Knight? It just depends on how the meta is, you know, shaping up to be. The Mega Knight, you know, even in game number 2, it would have provided a lot of value. There's a lot of drill. There's a lot of, you know, bridge spam that isn't P.E.K.K.A. And so game number 3, he's going to use that. I love what he did right there. And the arrows, they're a weird card to use, but when used correctly, they get so much value.
Yeah, and you just look at that Ram Rider really never being stopped. Every single time that Ram Rider was dropped, I believe it got on top of the tower, which is obviously not something you want to have happen. I think we all know that. But when you have that many options available to stop it, you know, you got 3 cards that do a really good job, and then you have the AQ on top to get that DPS in. Just not in the cards for Hasael today.
You know, this deck has been used before, and so it does make me assume, okay, he does know that he has Lightning. And I think that's what it is, where if he uses Archer Queen on defense plus the E-Spirit, it can put him in positions where it's difficult for him not to get overwhelmed.
Right.
And so I'm assuming that's the reason why it feels so kind of like it just felt so weird watching that game, because just the threat of that one card that never had to be used once kind of changed the tide.
Yeah, fascinating when that happens.
You know, I think my favorite part was when you said it almost feels like the players weren't even ready for it to go to the third round, because that's just the theme of the day, right? But still, impressive matchup, and congratulations to Minnie, obviously, for being able to kind of continue on through the bracket. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, okay? I will say that, and you guys will see that reflected here. Minnie is now right under Magma, but we are going to be talking about the next matchup. Do you know what it is?
Can I guess?
You can guess.
I'm going to say Diego.
It's not.
I knew it. I'm so glad she did it. She got you.
I could see that you so badly wanted it to happen, and I just had to throw it your way. But we're actually going to be going to Ian versus Ardentoa, which actually has to be very excited for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that actually was exciting for me also. I enjoyed that a lot.
But now we get to talk about your pick again.
Yeah, you know, and this is going to be a lot different here in the second round when you talk about who Ardentoa is going up against. Ian, a much more decorated player and a much more consistently exceptional player when you talk about what he's done in 2021 and in 2022, which is really, for me at least, kind of where his legacy begins. I know he's been playing longer than that, but I started paying much closer attention to him last year. We saw the numbers earlier from Ian. He's great, but he's got a much more formidable opponent here in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, Ian's set against Boss, it went by quick, and it went by in a way where, like, he just played perfectly, and so I don't want to take anything away from that. It almost feels like we didn't even get to see him play.
Right.
Because it just went so fast, and we never really got that opportunity. Ian overall is just unbelievably talented. He has so many different ways that he can win. A lot of them are with cycle, but a lot of them can be like, you know, if he needs to use a deck, if he needs to use certain cards, he can adjust, he can make, you know, he can use a Giant Skeleton or Mega Knight, and if that's how the tournament goes.
And that's what I want to see him do here in Game 1. I want to see him to go to something a little bit heavier that he's very good with, because it'll keep his opponents guessing. They won't know what he's going to go to. I don't really want to see RG, because that just feels like what you should go to. Right. But I think Lava Skelly King's still pretty good in the meta. There's Golem all over the place, whether it's with Golden Knight or not, or even with Giant Skeleton. I would love to see him go with something comfortable that is big and heavy and beat Downy. On the other side of it with Arden, you know, we keep watching him win with kind of everything available in the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 13-1, again, the 6th ladder finish. His last month, he has just been on such a run. If we look at 1 month of Muhammad Light, we can say it kind of compares, you know, he's going to need to do it for another 28 months.
Right, right.
But the level that he has played at is incredible. I would like to see, you know, I like the adjustment with a Mighty Miner in this deck. We can see that he's willing to make adjustments if he finds, you know, one option to be a little bit better. But this game number 2, I was so impressed. He kept his opponent on their heel. He just pressured correctly, knew exactly what he had to do. The Cannon Card Bridge, you know, I talk about it a lot, where sometimes the simple play that isn't really that impressive, it's just like, it's just a great play.
Well, it's an 8 elixir spend that could just go horribly awry if you don't know the cycle, if you don't know what your opponent's running. And, you know, when you talk about Momo, you talk about Muhammad Light, the golden-chaired golden boy, the Prince of Egypt, now the Pharaoh, whatever you want to call him, all of those things, he is one of the best out there, but he did the same thing. And I think it was probably closer to 2020, where it was just like, here I am, you're going to see me more and more, I'm going to do better and better in tournaments, and I'm going to win. And that's what he started to do, because that was like the ascension of Muhammad Light. We could be seeing the similar thing with Ardentoa in 2022. But first, he's got to get through a very good player in Ian.
I mean, listen, we were talking about it before we even started any of these quarterfinals, and we did call out that the match down at the bottom of the bracket between Eden and Ardentoa was going to be a spicy one, and it's already ready to go. So, instantly passing it back on over to you guys.
All right, let's do this. Glitter, we love you. We thank you. Here we go. Let's see some great Clash Royale action. Only 2 matches left in this round of 8. We've already eliminated half of the players that made it through. We got to eliminate a couple more. Ardentoa and Ian going into game number 1 in just a moment. And do you have a pick? I'm going to do it to you. Do you have a pick?
Oh, I think I have to say Arden.
Right?
I think I'm a believer. At this point, he has impressed me time and time again. I have to go Arden.
Yeah, I would love to see Arden, and I'd also love to see Ian rock something just a little bit heavier out there. I'd love to see Lava Hound. I'd love to see Skeleton King with Lava or with Golem, and I know I'm not an alien. I haven't been taken over. I did just say I want to see Golem.
I thought I heard that. I thought I heard that.
I know what's wrong with me. I'm actually going to take that. Can we just stop the broadcast? Can we? But I do want to see that because, you know, when I watched the matches leading up in the qualifiers, Ian kind of got sniped a few times, and one of them was by Diego. He knew exactly what he was going to rock. So here we go. That's enough out of us. Ian at the top of your screen, Arden Toas at the bottom. It gave me a low battery.
Ian not spamming the emote, but he is using one of my favorite emotes. Pompeo often uses it as well. And starting off with using the zappies in the back, not a bad play. Skeleton King's... Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Although I did want, you know, Ian to be running it, but we'll see what happens.
Ian's going to be using Giant Skeleton, probably RG. Arden Toas, on the other hand, I think he's using the deck that Ian used game number 1, the spammy Inferno Tower deck. I'm not sure if Ian was using Skeleton King or Valk perhaps.
Yeah.
But I do like this Drill Cycle Dark Goblin deck.
Yeah, so, you know, a little bit of changing of you know, what you'd expect out of these guys. Ian goes a bit heavier, but he does go to Royal Giant, which is no kind of surprise, which is what we've seen the most of today. And then bottom of your screen, Arden Toas going quick and fast, so I like that they've kind of changed roles a little bit.
And really well-placed Drill gets it out on time where he can afford to play it low. If he had played it one tile higher, the Bar Barrel, you know, takes out the Goblins, and it's not actually a problem. Instead, Goblins take out the RG. He gets a little baby counter push, and instead of being down 800, he's only down 3.
So here we go. Things ticking away. Only 30 seconds remaining here before we get into double elixir time. And both these guys just stopping and staring, which means it's a good time for me to try to thank our sponsors once again. Josh, big shout out to Snapdragon. Where winning matters, think Snapdragon. And right now, Ian and Arden trying to pick up this game number 1.
It's always funny to hear try to thank our sponsors. Usually it's try to win a game or try to do something else. But I love it. I mean, you know, you call it like it is.
We've all got to set goals for ourselves, AC.
Giant Skeleton crosses the bridge. Skeleton King taking it out. The way this deck is constructed, it's just so odd. It feels like the Skeleton King isn't really getting the value that a normal Skeleton King does. Pops the ability, but these Zappies plus E-Spirit, it feels like it was kind of a waste. Probably not the best use of its ability. Continues to pressure with the wall breakers on the left lane. There's a lot coming down the right lane. Skeleton King plus Dark Goblin. The RG is getting pushed. Actually manages to bypass the Inferno Tower, so that is massive for him.
Wow.
Gets one more shot, and there we go. 15 seconds left, pressuring again. But just stellar defense from Ian overall.
And this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Ian go just a little bit heavier. I know it's Royal Giant, no problem there. He's playing this deck great. And I think Arden was maybe going to try to catch him in that cycle race. And right now just getting a little bit overwhelmed by the heavy units on the board.
Fire Spirit does hop onto the tower. Zappy should take it out pretty cleanly. Now the question is, does he want to go RG behind? And I like this. Blocks it at the bridge, protects the Skeleton King. Inferno Tower is going to be able to, not going to be able to lock onto the RG, but it should still be able to get taken out before it gets a shot on tower. Yes, sir.
Yes, it does. Skeleton King ability just so great when you're talking offense, you're talking defense, anything. That Skeleton King ability is so powerful. And now we're seeing that overwhelm. Wow. Great fireball in there. This is trouble. Dark Goblin on the tower. Barrel comes in late, but that doesn't matter. Damage already done.
629, keeping the pressure up. The difference between a log and a bar barrel is the difference between this game being an easy win for Ian and, I mean, the way he played, an easy win for Arden.
Absolutely locked down was Arden. I mean, Ian was doing a great job defending for so very long, but it really just felt like Arden was waiting for his moment to strike. He played really clean defenses. He did a great job making sure those giant skeletons and those Royal Giants were getting too much value or taking too much elixir from him, and also keeping up that pressure. I mean, the one thing that was a little interesting in this, Josh, is he didn't do as much of the dual lane thing. He kind of saw his opening and went for it.
Yeah, you know, I often see that being the way, and, you know, he did throw a couple drills off to the left, but it was always setting himself up for, can I get Elixir spent on the left, so that way I can continue to go on the right. Just, you know, even at the end of the game, we saw brilliant recognition. Does he have logins, or does he have bar barrel and cycle? No? Okay, I'm going all in.
Yeah, and you look right there, you know, 6 drills, 6 sets of wall breakers, 3 Inferno Towers doing what they needed, 6 Dark Goblins out there. That's just such a great job cycling rapidly, getting your most effective cards on the board, and then also using your most effective cards defensively perfectly, precise calculations and where you're placing them. Even at that moment where you're like, well, you know, the Inferno Tower is not even on top of that Royal Giant, but it didn't really matter, right? He had the Skeleton King where it needed to be away from the Giant Skeleton.
Yeah, I loved the adjustments that he made during, you know, mid-match. The fact that he blocked it at the bridge, it's such a simple play. It's such a, you know, it's a play that pros have been doing for ages. We saw it earlier with the Baby Dragon, you know, getting blocked at the bridge by the Archer Queen.
Right.
But the reason why it's so popular, it's so innovative, is because you can change up your defenses, not give Earthquake value, you know, force out errant bar barrels that you don't want to be using on offense, and you just win the game with simple plays like that one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really one of the things about Arden that I've loved to watch, and really a lot of my favorite players that I ever see he's just incredibly consistent. He's not flashy, he doesn't reach, he doesn't overextend, he doesn't ever min-max improperly. I mean, I'm sure he does some of this sometimes, but what we've been seeing in the competitive scene for almost the last 6 months now, he has just been really dialed in. And again, when you talk about who he's beating here in Ian, I commend him for changing things up. I do wish it wasn't Royal Giant. I know I've said that a handful of times already, but I really liked that it wasn't just quick cycle out of Ian, because that's just too easy at this level, and that's what analysts get paid for.
Right. You know, I do like that he used, you know, one of those heavier decks. I wouldn't mind him to have used the RG mirror deck. That mirror deck could have changed the game.
That deck is, you're going to play it tonight, right? Like, you're going to at least try it out. It's so crazy, because you think about the elixir management with a deck like that. The moment that you're using an RG mirror RG, obviously you got to be deep in double, even going into triple. But if you're using that ineffectively, you've basically just thrown the game, because you know that those units that come down that provide only offensive capabilities on the board, the counter pushes can be devastating. I would have loved to see that deck again, and honestly, I'd actually like to see more mirror in general. In this competition and in the previous competition, we have seen mirror work a couple times. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Mohammed Light who used it last month, and you know, worked out well for him, $30,000 and a golden ticket. And you know, earlier today, it worked out pretty well too.
Right.
At least we had a good time with it.
Right. We had a great time with it, as a matter of fact. And honestly, like, you know, especially, obviously, it doesn't matter for players like Arden, and it doesn't matter for players like Ian, but, you know, especially for more beginners to these kind of tournaments, trying to create a name for yourself where you're willing to use all types of decks, you just want any advantage you possibly can have.
So Arden Toas going with Miner and Prince. Prince is something that we don't really see as much anywhere, but honestly, I still think one of the strongest cards in the game.
And there we go. Great timing with the zap. It's actually going to force out a bar barrel in response. And there we go. MK placed on the board. Going to be using the Minor Wallbreakers MK deck that we sometimes see get popular for 3 games in a row, and then it kind of dies off. It's going to be interesting if Mega Knight becomes a force to be reckoned with again.
That's tough right there. Mega Knight leaping on top of that Golden Knight. You know, he was trying to slow play that Golden Knight, was Ian. He ended up leaking a half elixir to get the Golden Knight where he needed it, and then the cannon cart where he needed it. Ends up being a pretty good defense there, but is down just a hair with that cannon cart on the board. Seems pretty even.
Minions do take it out just in time. Solid Magic Archer in response. Not the most difficult play, but did place it correctly. Was able to take the minions out before they got to the tower.
So this is kind of something that we've seen mixed between sets. We've never kind of seen the Mega Knight going up against the bridge spam, no big spell deck. So we'll see kind of what you were talking about before, AC, in terms of will these big bridge pushes be able to happen in one lane, or will Ian have to win this by distracting in both and squeezing on through?
Arrows are played, so really, he's going to be using an MK Prince variation with no wall breakers.
Yeah, very interesting. Goes with Bandit instead as a way to kind of create pressure, but isn't the Bandit usually in that? Is it the Archer Queen that's not?
Usually it's just one of the spells, I think. I think it's
usually
just like zap.
Yeah. So interesting change up here from Arden, but you know what? He's been doing all right so far. And I like that he's doing it the way that he wants to do it. And we talked about this at the top of the show and the idea of even someone like Arden, who is becoming a pretty popular player out there, still pretty unpredictable.
So I'm going to use the Telestration for the first time today. Woo! That Magic Archer, it's a scary card to cycle in the back because it allows for you to just overwhelm completely.
Wow.
You get that Miner plus arrows on top of the Magic Archer, and that's too much damage over a large portion of the board. You can't be placing that in the back.
And there it goes. Once again, Archer in the back, but at this point doesn't really matter. Game already sewn up with only 15 seconds remaining. Ian needs divine intervention to pick up game number 2, and that's not going to happen. Ian is eliminated, walks away with $500 like everyone else that we've seen lose in round number 2. Arden Toas working towards that 4K.
I have changed from I'm a believer to like I will follow the route he takes. I need his friend link. I need to stay up to date. Right here is the overall push that I was saying. You know, he gets that NATO back, but you use the Miner to be able to take out the Magic Archer with the addition of arrows, with the addition of Zap, and it's just too easy. That's not a strong enough card. It gives way too much value to spells, and you also can't pair it with the NATO. That's 7 elixir of
minimal damage.
Or 6 elixir, and yeah, you don't have the DPS with that.
Right, you look at the cards, it's 7. I was gonna let you just fix that.
Because I saw a 3 and a 3, and I said,
and that's 6. That is, good job. But you look here and you see the beefiness, right, of Arden Toas. You got the Prince, you got the Bandit, you got the MK, you got the Miner, and even the AQ. All of those cards have pretty substantial health, and that's really kind of what happened at the end of it. You have a poorly cycled Magic Archer, a kind of not a useless NATO, but an ill-advised NATO, and then you saw them trying to kind of make up for it at the bridge. Too much HP, too much splash damage.
And too much Arden, because he just absolutely dominated. I mean, you guys called it. You said that you felt that like that was the way it was going to go, but I mean, he is looking solid moving forward through that bracket right now. Definitely somebody to be scared of, and somebody that we are going to be keeping our eyes on throughout the rest of it, but it's time. Josh, this is your moment.
The next match is going to be Diego B versus Betfus. I'm living for it. Can't wait.
It's finally time. So that, I know you were waiting for this all day. We have to finally get some time to talk about Diego versus Betfus. I mean, this is going to be another great matchup, and obviously your pick.
You know, my hands are kind of clammy right now. I'm that excited. I really was worried. Until I saw Diego B's screen get flashed this way, I wasn't sure if, you know, the producers backstage were going to try and pull something. But yeah, we have Diego, 7-0 in the qualifiers, 2-0, you know, obviously the scariest 2-0 of the first set. You know, scariest 2-0 over the first set.
Yeah.
But he played well. I mean, he went against a difficult matchup. He had to place the Teslas correctly. He had to cycle the Valks, protect the Valks with the Skeletons. There was a lot of things that he did correctly. I mean, it was just brilliantly played. I talked to him earlier today. I said it before. You know, he said he was in peak form. I couldn't really believe that when he said it because he is a world champion.
Right.
But he might actually be in, you know, that S tier compared to, you know, his entire career. He might be at peak form.
Yeah, and I do have to say, the stuff that I loved out of Diego was just incredible defenses from him. He's always been a guy that we talked about, kind of ice running through his veins. Those last second cards played when it feels like he's getting overwhelmed at the bridge or overwhelmed on top of his tower. He knows the interactions inside and out. And then that great high MK to jump on the Magic Archer, to jump on that Dark Prince, really kind of sewed up that set right away. But someone who we haven't talked about really at all today, at least in detail, is Betfus, 17-2 in sets, a #1 ladder finish from one of the best ladder players in the world and arguably the best Expo player out there. I'm sure there's a handful of people that might have something to say about that, but Betfus is consistently the highest on ladder, with Expo being his one-trick deck. He loves to run Lava Hound as well. I'm curious to see if he's going to be a little bit more predictable or a little bit more varied, and we can see this right now in his set against Ian77. He decided to go with, you know, just a little bit different than what we'd seen regularly from Betfus, which is advised in a tournament like this.
Right. You do have to continue to mix it up. And we see in this replay just, you know, even we often see, in the replay, it showed a bandit getting placed kind of near the bridge, but not too close, and it was able to get the dash.
Right.
And a lot of these players, especially when they're not using cards that they often use, we see mistakes like that all the time, and it's almost forgiven. It's like, that just will happen. And so if he's playing that cleanly, and he can get any type of great matchup, there's a reason why Diego B, hyped him up. He's a solid player.
Yeah, and the consistency that it takes to be that #1 spot on ladder is always impressive.
And listen, chat, if any of you think you could be in that #1 spot on the ladders, obviously I'm going to keep saying it. Split 2 signups are open. Head on over to snapdragonproseries.com for more information and to get yourself signed up. Play against the best of the best and be a matchup that everybody is biting their nails waiting for, like this final quarterfinals matchup we have right around the corner. So, Josh, I don't want to drag this on for you any longer.
Thank you.
I know that you are ready to get into it. So, last quarterfinals match of the day. Guys, take it away.
All right, let's do this. Betfus going up against Diego B. Betfus, one of the strongest players in the game right now, but can he translate that through in the competitive scene? Last year, we saw him have 3 top 50 finishes in CRL of 2021. Is 2022 the year that he breaks through that top 10, top 5, top 1?
I hope he is able to accomplish anything he wants to after this tournament is over. Diego B starting off with Drill, and Betfos, cycles to Mega Minion, gonna get wasted on the right side. Dark Prince on the left, perfectly placed. Drill gets no damage from the goblins.
We try to bring no biases into any given game or any given set or any given tournament, but Diego B, I know that we're both just fanboys. So here we go. Betfus, you're competing against him and against us and probably the majority of the Clash Royale world, but we always love an underdog story. Betfus obviously not going Expo in game #1. Diego is going Drill in game #1. RG comes down. See this Drill on defense up high.
Is the bar barrel gonna follow? It does, and the dash, had it already been used? I don't think he has the ability. That is a lot of damage for his first push right there, and no counter push whatsoever. Will it get the shot? It does. Wow, I stand corrected.
That is in. Betfus calls good game, just like that. And you know what? I will always say this, no matter who it is. It could have been Diego B doing it. I don't ever like the good game being called early in the competitive scene. You always got to go to the end of that 5 minutes, even if you know the matchup is 100-0, which I don't think it is in this situation. I think it might be a little bit poor for Betfus, and that connection makes it even worse. But I just don't like seeing the white flag thrown early on.
It almost allows, especially if certain cards are hidden, it almost allows for your opponent to say, oh, he might not have Fireball, he has Lightning.
Right.
When it's a game like this, any information given is too much information.
That's a really, really great point that you make, AC. So here we go. Dark Prince works down the left-hand side. Ewiz is there, and even though Betfus was the one to kind of throw up the good game, and I don't think it was BM, I do think it was the white flag, he is ahead by over 1,100 damage here.
Wow, misses the Ghost with the Lightning, out of range, it appears. I don't want to say it was a mistake. And then, solid enough defense does stop it from getting multiple shots. But that's going to be a King Tower activation. Can he pressure the left correctly? Looks like it's going to be well defended. Betfos in a great position. It's kind of odd that he used the good game early.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was. Maybe he was throwing a little BM his way. I mean, it doesn't seem right. And maybe Betfos will talk to us more about it, or we'll see a tweet about it. But right now, firmly in control. Diego B with less than 1,000 HP remaining on his tower. Betfos with over twice that much on his. And now we see an AQ aggressive at the bridge.
Lightning getting a little bit of value, but more than he needs to. Great little E-Spirit up top. Gonna take the aggro, not gonna be able to dash onto the tower. At this point, what does Diego B do? He can't really cycle in the back. He's giving too much lightning value. He's in this weird spot where he can't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask you the same thing. I just don't know how he does it. So we see right now trying to pull a bit of a swerve going opposite lane. Fishboy does actually go to the Drill instead of the Golden Knight. Doesn't really end up mattering. AQ up high, gonna walk down that right-hand side, and Diego still has to deal with this push coming in. RG plus AQ. Drill not back in cycle, so he has to use the NATO. Now Drill might be back around if he plays one more card, but he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he doesn't even need the lightning. He just needs the one simple bar barrel, one simple lightning. Goes in with the RG instead. Archer Queen on the tower. That is going to be game number 1 over BetFuss with a beautiful game overall. No mistakes, and perhaps a little BM.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think it might have been. I think it might have been. I don't know. It seems a little uncharacteristic, but, you know, BetFuss may be feeling himself, and I'm always one to throw out a couple emotes out there. I love to see it in the competitive scene. I love to do a little bit of trash talk. So we see right here, Diego, this is literally him just hanging on for dear life. He knows he's not going to get out of this alive, but I do admire the fact that he was still trying. We all know there's no way to win that bridge battle.
You know, I'm laughing hearing you say that you like to throw out the BM, because I'm pretty sure yesterday you told me I mute the game until the game is wrapped up, and then I allow for emotes.
Well, you know, I guess that is something that you may have heard me say yesterday. I was more so talking about the players doing it, but look, if you're playing an annoying deck, or if you've made me work harder than I want to for those 5 minutes, then you might get a BM out of me at the end, okay? We're just being honest up here at the caster couch. So 3.8 to 3.6, 12 elixir cycle to get all the way around for Diego B, and maybe that was part of it, right? Really the only way that he's able to stop that RG is with the drill, but that's his best offense. So he was trying to get units down on the board to DPS down the RG with, you know, being coupled with the NATO, but it just turned out to be a lot of overspending. And like you said, he can't really cycle much in the back. He just gives away way too much lightning value, and maybe that's really what it was about. BetFuss going, I know what deck you're playing. There's really no way for you to stop me because I just get too much lightning value over and over and over.
Right, and it might be the case of I have Dark Prince instead of Giant Skeleton, and so you never can really outcycle any kind of defense against the drill. So he knows he can kind of get away with anything he wants. He can get aggressive, he can overextend, because he will be able to defend properly every single time.
A missed NATO there by BetFuss, and as we are singing his praises, a big missed interaction there. He does call out the oops. It's not the end of the game by any means, but that is a nice opening for Diego B.
It's perhaps been like 6 months since I've seen that happen.
A pro missing a NATO pull.
Yeah, pro missing a NATO pull. That is not... The last time I saw it happen was actually, I think it was twice in one game by Morton.
And then did he win? No. Yeah, and then he did, right?
I think maybe.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise there from Morton. Hog Rider on the tower again. No NATO in cycle. BetFuss running what we just saw out of Diego B, maybe hitting a bit of copy on his opponent's deck, but getting outcycled and overwhelmed at the moment. But now Diego has to play some strong defense himself with that cannon cart right there. No elixir in hand, but no need. Great log.
Beautiful defense. The cannon cart's not even out of range, so the tower takes it out completely. BetFuss, one mistake just kind of snowballs completely. One, you know, it allows Diego to get aggressive earlier. It allows, you know, it forces out one more Ghost, one more Ewiz, and that one mistake has just changed the game dramatically.
Yeah, we've been saying it for years up here, is just that mistakes beget mistakes in Clash Royale. It's a really kind of compounding snowball effect, and we see this taking damage. That's a lot more damage than I think you really want to take, but the Archer Queen does get taken out by that cannon cart as well, so a horrible set of interactions there for Diego B. And now BetFuss goes, all right, look, this game was sewn up a second ago. Great snowball in to clean up those skellies.
Wow, 1431, 1288. Look, at this point, Diego B does have the Tesla set up. BetFuss does not have a big spell, and so he can just kind of set up Teslas, set up Valks on top of the drills, and then Archer Queen's high, as long as he protects this Archer Queen. And so far in this game, he has to a certain extent, but, you know, obviously he has to clean it up as this game goes on.
Yeah, and you know, the biggest difficulty here for Diego B, like you said, Josh, is making sure it's that Valkyrie on top of the drill, but instead he goes Fire Spirit plus log, because that Valkyrie needs to be played up high to stop this big push coming across. A nice EQ defensively there, but that cannon cart's tanking for that Golden Knight. Another high Valkyrie comes in, and this is stressful times for our former world champion.
That was superbly defended by Diego B. Everything on the board doesn't matter if you're going to be playing like that. Archer Queen on top of, and still uses the log. It's kind of interesting. A lot of the times we see these pros tank in that kind of situation, right there, he just allows, he doesn't want the goblins to get any stabs on top of the Archer Queen.
Yeah, I mean, when it's this close of a game, it's really too dangerous to allow those goblins to connect at all. Here we go. Hog Rider going to get on top of tower again. Betfus goes and waits till the last second. Hog almost turns towards the Princess Tower again, but he does get that King Tower activation finally with 1:25 remaining in overtime. Diego B currently in the lead by about 500.
The question is he going to come in with another Hog even just one more time? The likely answer is going to be no. The likely answer is going to be troops placed near the bridge and then defended with Valks and Logs. But the problem is when you're going against these bridge spam decks, it's hard to place things at the bridge without getting overwhelmed by bridge spam decks.
And look at that. Valkyrie goes down low. An early log in. That is trouble, AC. Goblins on top of the tower. Royal Ghost gets a shot in. Diego B hits the panic button, goes in with the Hog Rider. Hog Rider NATO back. Earthquake down on the tower. 364 down to 310. 437 remains. Drill comes down. No log in cycle. No Valkyrie in cycle.
This is going to be a problem. He needs his troops. I mean, Log and Earthquake.
That's it. That's it. Oh, my goodness. Diego B was playing such a good game for so long, but he had the right worries coming into the competition. He goes, my biggest threat is Betfus. The man that knocks him out, it's going to be Betfus.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I was going to say, oh, brilliant situation. The Valk actually dies, so he can't get the NATO Magic Archer on top of the Valk end game. It's almost, I don't know if Diego even wanted that, but it was kind of exactly what needed to happen. But you have to protect. If you're going to Tesla low, you have to know I need at least something in my cycle where I can protect it from getting a Golden Knight dash.
And I have to tip my hat to Betfus, just recognizing if I can get a massive push coming across the bridge at the same time as the drill going down, he will not be able to place that Valkyrie in an opportune spot, and that's what we're seeing right there. Valkyrie goes off the board sooner than he'd like. Log comes in sooner than he's ever played it. He hasn't missed the logs at all in this game. That snowball comes down on top. Just absolute brilliance there from Betfus, but it's not over yet. Another Tesla comes down, another drill comes in. The overwhelm is real.
And right there, 40 seconds, the cycled log, it's tough. Is that really the route you want to be going? Oh my goodness, it hurts the same. I was gonna say it hurts more. It's already at like 100 levels, so it can't hurt more. It really just hurts.
Heart already broken here for AC as Diego B, our former world champion from 2019, does get eliminated by Betfus, someone who was not really able to put it together in CRL of 2021, already doing great here in the Snapdragon Pro Series. We've eliminated another half of our competitors. Luckily in this round it's only 4, which means only 4 remain. There it is, Magma, Betfus, Minnie, Arden, Toas, all of them walking away with at least $1 grand, one of them walking away with 4K. Who's it gonna be? We'll find out in just a minute.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast. I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha, yeah, I'm a work. through the struggle and hurt. Cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what is meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt. Push through the hurt just to show them my work. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt. Cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me. How'd I turn pain into energy? Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, now I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited. Keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get
The semifinals are set here at the Snapdragon Pro Series. Welcome back, everybody. If you are just joining us now for the first time, we are on our way into the semifinals, and it is going to be a battle back and forth. You can see the people that have made their way through so far are going to be Magma, Betfis, Minnie, and Arden Toas. So far, only one of those predictions holding strong to this bracket, but to be fair, that was an upset. I mean, you were not, to be fair, all of us were not necessarily ready for that, but of course, hello, welcome back. I'm Glitter Explosion, and we have Josh and Andrew, and you'll notice a little change of scenery. Semifinals are serious, which means we are now on the serious caster analyst desk. Okay, we're setting a tone here, guys, and hopefully it's a tone that is going to be very fitting for the games that we've seen so far and that we will be seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at where we're at in this tournament, the 4 players that are remaining, there really is kind of one standout surprise in that, which is Magma. But when you look at the way that he played that set, there's no surprises. There was some of the best interactions we've seen all day today, and you've known about him for a while.
Right, yeah, I mean, I've known his potential, and I mean, you know, a lot of the semi-pro community has known his potential, what he is supposed to be able to be accomplishing, but he never really put it together. You know, I don't want to continue to go back to the Fire Spirit play because it might get ruined for people. But, you know, if you're going to be making plays like that, it's clear, like, you have that potential. You can always, you always have that one tournament where you kind of put everything together. This is looking like that tournament for him.
So Magma, you see right here, 15-4 in sets, number 10 finish on ladder. Just a quick reminder for you guys in case you didn't catch those beforehand. He's also got a first place finish in the Queso Cup Summer Split and a number 1 finish in a global tournament, which was draft back in 2019. But really, it was about what you're seeing on screen here against Rimapon. That was just beautiful stuff. And Josh, what's going to happen next?
Okay, so watch this, everybody. He uses the Fire Spirit to take away the dash from the Golden Knight. Not only does the Golden Knight not receive any value whatsoever, but he was also to get that log chip. I mean, it's only, you know, 100 damage from the log, but based on the coolness factor, it changed the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all love to see a little swag. Every now and then you see a minor pull a P.E.K.K.A, right? Javi Catorce doing that back in the day. It's not like it's never been done before. This is one of those situations where I've actually never seen it done before. Reminder also to you guys, Rimapon was our #1 seed coming into this day, coming into this set, and he was bodied by Magma. I think that's really just the best way to put it. It was a beautiful set. You see right there, Rimapon does kind of make a showing for himself a little bit late, but there was just no getting around this guy who, you know, I'm excited to see if I'm gonna get to know him as well as you do. And talk to me about this game too, man. He had this matchup locked down.
Yeah, I mean, I liked, you know, you take a look at that left-hand tower. It's at 707, so yes, he's taking damage, but that's just exactly what you're supposed to be doing. His control over the entire series, but especially that game too, he just knew what he was supposed to do.
Well, if there's ever been a time to prove yourself, it's against Betfus, who, I don't know, are you rooting for him now that he eliminated our boy Diego B?
You would think no, but like, you know, I want to cheer on the person who took out the player that I wanted, so yes, he's going to be my #1 guy.
You're like, if my team didn't win, I want the other team to go to the Super Bowl. You're like one of those people,
Yeah.
huh? All right, cool, let's hang out sometime. Betfus doing work, we just saw it, right? Diego B worried about him, and rightly so. He really, I mean, you look at the tower health here. It's not often you catch Diego B in a situation where he just doesn't know what to do.
Right, I mean, his overwhelming was great, but it was also, actually, right here, we're going to see it. He doesn't go in with a lightning because that can give, you know, a 0.008 chance for Diego B to still win. He knows in this position, the RG will always win it. And yes, he does make NATO mistakes, but other than that, he played such a clean set overall. We see the oops, so obviously he didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, obviously didn't mean to mess up the NATO, but what I will say is I loved seeing this out of him, because what do you need to do to be the best that's played the game, the best in the world? You have to know what it's like to make mistakes and come back from it. You have to know what it's like to play through bad matchups. You have to know what it's like to play against an arguable best player in the world at one point and mess up your very first interaction. So not only does he have the skill set, he has the mental fortitude. He has the perseverance, and that is the type of thing that you need to have to be a champion, and he might be the champion of this tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, just everything he did in this set overall was just exactly what needed to happen. This is a tough matchup. You know, your opponent has Valk, Quick Cycle, Earthquake, Fire Spirit. This is difficult. You have to just give yourself a chance. This is something that I always say for the past 1.5 years that I've been a caster. If you can give yourself a chance, it doesn't matter how small that chance is, giving yourself a shot is what you need to do.
Listen, you guys are really selling me here on Betfus, so I want to know what chat thinks about this entire situation. Yet again, guys, we're checking in with your opinion. There's going to be a poll down below. Let us know who you think is going to be taking home this very first semifinals match of the day. It's been a doozy of a day so far, and I want to see if chat is on point with their predictions. We'll have to see how accurate they've been throughout the day. But of course, semifinals matchup #1 right around the corner. It is going to be Magma versus Betfus, and it is time for me to send it back to you guys.
Here we go. Winner, guaranteed $2,000. Loser, gonna walk away with a grand and a great time, a good story to tell. Who's it gonna be? Betfus, bottom of your screen, Magma at the top. Remember, this is the semifinals of the Snapdragon Pro Series, where winning matters. Think about Snapdragon. And there you go. Snapdragon Elite Gaming, when winning matters, think Snapdragon, and this is a very big moment for Magma. Betfus coming out with Expo. Look at that, huge.
Love to see it now. Is he going to use the 3.0 version that he is known for? Absolutely, and he might not have enough elixir to defend this. That poison plus snowball, it will take it out.
Wow.
But the archers plus the Expo plus the 3.5 elixir lead, if he has another Expo, we could be looking at game. It looks like he has it now in cycle after the Ice Period, but maybe I'm saying it too fast. I guess he thinks, all right, let me reset. I got the opening advantage.
Yeah.
At this point, he might even be saying, let's just log Fireball cycle him out.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's one of the most dangerous things about a good Expo player is they know once they get just a big enough cut on you, they can run out that 5 minutes. So now protecting his Expo with the Knight, I like that play. Mortar going to be taken off the board. Valkyrie comes down, and Magma is in a tough spot elixir-wise. You see here, Poison is going to come in again, and now he adjusts with the Fire Spirit. I really actually like that change.
And I really like how he's utilizing these archers. A lot of times we see players place the archers to the left, to the right of the Expo. We don't often see them bridge placed. That way they can walk up. You know your opponent is going to use poison, snowball on top of the archers. You need to use their DPS as early as possible. And so to place them on the bridge consistently just seems to be definitely the right play. 110 left. Valk going to be placed high, but in the range of the Expo. Again, we're going to see a poison, miner, snowball, but it just might not be enough. This Expo is getting damaged.
That's it. And then the good game comes out again. This time, no question whether in the snowball to the King Tower. Magma knows that it is over. Another Expo comes down. Betfus making it look easy. And now I think we do know the good game to Diego earlier. Maybe not even BM. Maybe just letting him know, bro, this one's going to go towards me. You might want to reset for game 2.
Yeah, I don't know, because at the end of the day, like, he's using the Expo to take the second Crown Tower. Maybe he is having a little bit of BM and a little bit of fun. He could have gone for the King Tower. While unnecessary, I do love what I'm seeing from Betfos.
I mean, look, man, there's still 23 seconds remaining. We want to keep moving along. We've been flying through our day, flying through the bracket, and Magma gets burned in this game by Betfus, rocking exactly what you want to see him run at the highest level. This is the semifinals, right? He's already worked through so many rounds, so many players in the qualifiers in just today's first 2 rounds, and now we finally see him come out with his bread and butter.
You know, I hate that he used Fire Spirit, because I was going to say, oh, well, like, you know, if he used Fire Spirit, he probably would have been able to win that game. I guess that just shows how talented, you know, you have the best Expo player in the world going against the best Fire Spirit player in the world.
Right.
Apparently, Expo trumps it.
Yeah, I mean, best Fire Spirit player in the world. That's a fun one. You know, it's one of those things where Betfus recognized that he was ahead early on. He recognized that Magma made a mistake defensively. He had to overspend. He already took a good amount of damage. And running this deck, I mean, honestly, I'm sure I could never, ever beat Betfus if my life depended on it. But usually with this matchup, it's not horrible, right? You can get the Miner on tower to tank for the Expo. You have the guards to soak things up. You even have the Fire Spirit to distract. The poison can hit the units on top of the Miner, the Princess Tower, and the Expo. The Valkyrie, a great tank, but when you're playing against the best of the best with that deck, pretty impossible.
Yeah, I mean, we see right here, 0 Teslas placed, 0 Archer Queens placed. It was just such a weird game overall. Right. Only 1 defensive mortar. He never really had any opportunity. I don't know if it was because of cycle or, you know, 3 elixir used is too much if you're going against an Expo player.
I mean, the point that you make about no AQs coming down is actually kind of shocking. You figure that Archer Queen is really one of the best responses for that Expo. I mean, you can even drop that Fire Spirit first if it's not in cycle, get it to go opposite lane, then drop the AQ on top of the Expo, go invisible, take a little bit of damage, right, but you've got a decent counter push coming in, or at least you're not taking that much. But really surprising stuff. I mean, it must have been a cycle thing, and Betfus, being as good as he is with that deck, goes, all right, I know what you're running. I know what the best way to defend is. If you're not doing that, then there's a problem. It's not in cycle, so I'm going to win now.
Right. You know, I've seen a lot of talk recently about the idea of Log getting a nerf. And in that game right there, there's a reason why it's Poison Log, Fireball Log in these kind of minor decks, because you need that damage from the Log. We see with the Snowball, yes, it can take out and slow down the Expo,
right,
but if he uses the Log, you know, you're killing off Archers, E-Spirits, Skellies, and with the addition of a minor Poison, you're taking out the Expos a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's a really, really solid point you make, and now you can see why Magma didn't use that Log in game number 1, wanting to use it here in game number 2. He had a plan, he's sticking to it, but not really what you want to do going down game 1 against Betfus, who's been playing very, very well, and it's with a deck that doesn't have a lot of overlap in other popular decks in the meta. So Betfus doing a sellout push here, Skeleton King tanking for those bats, bats on top of the tower, Dark Goblin comes down to help out.
Skeleton King does get taken out, so he doesn't have to worry about the ability getting popped. Dark Goblins taking each other out. Tower, no use to Betfos. But right here, finally, we see it happen in this tournament. Mortar, Skeleton King, Skarmy, Miner. I'm shocked that we haven't seen it earlier. It is such a strong deck.
Well, what's crazy, too, is the most popular deck on Grand Challenges right now is a Mortar, Skeleton King deck with Musketeer and Poison and Miner in there, and we haven't seen that at all today. So really surprising that we haven't seen the Mortar combined with the Skeleton King and the Skarmy till now, and also surprising that it's not the most popular version in the game, but Betfus feeling good about it.
And right here, are we going to see the bats over the middle? We do see them protect. You know, if I have my telestration. Yeah, I mean, the bats do protect it. Arrows will get value if he gets the elixir for it. Looks like that's not going to be the case, but this log, while getting damage, all right, protects it pretty nicely.
Yeah, not bad there. It looked like the mortar was going to get one more shot in. 16-28. Arrows come down to help off that Dark Goblin to 20-26. A very close game here. And honestly, I think a really good spot for Betfus. Skarmy, yep, there's the Skarmy going to come down for sure. And a body block with the Skeleton King as well.
There you go. Places it perfectly with log not in cycle. Skarmy gets so much value. It's the scariest card in the game if you don't have a spell for it. And right there, prediction arrows on top. I mean, that one skeleton got 400 chip damage right there, and the skeletons used with the ability going to allow the cannon card to fully clean it up. And now Magma's in this weird spot where he can't get aggressive. He can't use the wall breakers on offense when that cannon card is up, and that's a lock on tower. Yeah,
that's a lock on tower. A nice prediction log there by Magma, but he allows the lock from the mortar, which is not what you want to have happen there. 850 to 1131. Blows being thrown back and forth. Skeleton King at the bridge. Skeleton King behind Princess Tower. High cannon card to catch. And there is the drill coming down. Skarmy not there. I love it. I love that he changed things up because that Skarmy coming in would have been a problem.
Wow, and the Dark Goblin placed incorrectly. This is going to be a lot of troops on the board, and I just cannot explain to you why he put the Skeleton King at the bridge.
No.
It doesn't make any sense. It allowed the opposing Skeleton King to be placed low, and just like that,
game
Betfus winning 2-0 in the span of 20 seconds. It went from anybody's game to this is the largest overwhelm. It might break some screens with how many troops are on the board.
I mean, Magma probably feels like one of those dudes that's just walking down the street and they got punched in the face in this set. I mean, that was devastating. Game number 1, you talk about that expo. He had no responses at all. And while game number 2 on paper and in the record books will look much closer than it actually is, that Skeleton King up high is a phenomenon to me.
Yeah, I don't understand it. At that point, it snowballed, you know, mistake after mistake.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything. And, you know, we talked about it, you know, the Mortar Skeleton King Skarmy deck, the Musketeer version with Poison. It's shocking that we haven't seen it earlier today. We see right here, any mistake leads to certain victory for those kind of decks.
Yeah, I mean, the Skeleton King is just so broken. Is that the word to use? I mean, anyone can play with it, so right? It feels pretty fair to be out there in the world. And you look at the responses that is on Magma's side of the board. The Dark Goblin's going to do a great job. The Skeleton King's going to do a great job. And he also has the log there. 0 fireballs used, which is tough, but I'm sure there were moments that he could have picked up something with a fireball, mortar, and a troop crossing. But that's neither here nor there. Glitter, this 2-0 thing, it just keeps happening.
Not only does it keep happening, but talk about momentum heading into finals for Betfus. I mean, that is scary. I would not want to have to be going up against him in this finals, but we'll have to see who even ends up getting to be that person, because there's still one more semifinals match on the line. And of course, that semifinals match is going to be between Minnie and Arden Toas. And we'll have to see if your pick can still hold up here, Andrew.
Let's go, Arden. I believe. I think if anyone in this tournament has a good chance against Betfus, it is both of these guys. Honestly, Minnie and Arden are both so incredibly talented, so experienced, at least in Minnie's side of it. But I couldn't agree with you more, Glitter. Betfus looks horrifying to play against right now.
Yeah, I mean, would you, X-Pro, give me your official opinion. Would you want to have to be going up against him?
Well, okay, as an X-Pro, I would not want to be going against him. He's very good.
13-2 in sets is Minnie Minter. He's number 6 on ladder, and you saw him put work in on that bracket today. We're going to take a look here quickly at what we just saw in his previous set. Hasael going with Expo, not really having the same amount of success that we just saw from Betfus. I'm still a little surprised that we saw Hasael rock Expo. It feels like unless you're one of the best 3 players in the world with it, it might not be a good idea in the competitive scene. But then, you know, Betfus does it in another set and rocks it. So what do I know?
Right. I think you just have to look at the meta. You have to look, all right, is this my best deck ever?
Right.
Yes, then I can use it. Otherwise, it does seem like, you know, misplaced. It doesn't seem like it should ever be the play. Yeah, it just doesn't.
Well, and the other thing that we saw with Minnie a lot today was it felt like his opponents just kind of underestimated his defensive capabilities, right? They would kind of do these, all right, I'll take a little bit of damage from him on this side. I'm going to sell out, push in the opposite lane. Minnie always had a response. Now, I think that's going to change, though, when we see him go up against Arden Toas, because when you watch Arden and what he's done with his sets, his games, he has been methodical, he has been calculated, and he's been patient, which is so important at this level, AC.
Yeah, you need to be patient if you're playing against these kind of players. And this set right here, obviously, my answer is going to change, or, you know, my statement will change. But this is the most excited I've been for a set this entire tournament. It's going to change in the finals, obviously.
Of course.
But, you know, overall for this tournament, I think Minnie is one of the smartest, most intelligent players, I think, when it comes to matchups. He can find good matchups, especially when Arden Toas, you know, if he doesn't continue to go with the RGs, the mortars, if he continues to switch it up, go drills, wall breakers, that's going to be scary for Minnie. I think Arden could possibly get sniped if he isn't careful.
Right.
And this is going to be a weird, you know, before the game, who can make the right plays.
Yeah, Minnie working with Jebas and Winwoo, which are two of the best analysts in the game. Shout out to you for figuring out all the analysts for their respective players. Arden Toas using 0CR. Now, Jebas has really kind of screamed to the forefront as one of the best analysts. We saw what he did at World Finals in 2021, and then, of course, he worked with Mohamed Light last month in the Queso Cup Golden Edition. I'm sure he got a little bit of that $30,000 that Mohamed took home.
It's going to be I'm very excited to get into this final match, okay? This is going to be a really solid finals of the semifinals, at least the final semifinal match, before we head into the finals, too many finals. But if you want to be part of this insanely confusing bracket, you can head on over to SnapdragonProSeries.com, because Split 2 signups are open, and we want to see your name up here with all of these competitors, okay? It's the era of everyone, and you never know what could happen when you sign up. You might be the next champion. And with what we've got going on today, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody in chat that just comes out of nowhere and steamrolls, because we've seen 2-0s all day. We've got a couple upsets now, and like you guys are saying, potentially the most exciting matchup prior to finals of the entire bracket is right around the corner between Minnie and Arden Toas. So let's get things going.
Let's do it. I mean, I love the era of everyone. Why not throw your hat in the ring? And even if you don't make it to the top 16, even if you don't win, you were even just telling me the other day about when you used to play against this guy that was like, why are you doing this? Because this is the right thing to do. You can learn so much by playing against the best in the world. So why not sign up for Snapdragon Pro Series Split 2? Minnie, top of your screen, Arden Toas at the bottom, with a very exciting matchup here between two of the best in the West.
That was nice. I really like that.
Yeah, thanks. You should call it out.
I mean, everybody's West here, so.
Well, that's why. Yeah, right? Here we go. Arden, bottom of your screen, rocking the drill with Cannon Cart. Minnie at the top of your screen, going Dark Prince with Miner. What's he running, Josh?
Let's see. Dark Prince, Miner could be the Rocket delivery deck. And Arden Toas not going to be running a spell. Interesting Marcher.
Oh.
Does protect it, so it is the right play.
Right. Shocking protection there. Does get a Dark Prince down for that splash damage. Even an Elixir, so pretty good both sides. What has he got for this?
I was thinking he does have NATO in this deck, and his opponent should know he has NATO in this deck. I'm not sure. You know,
wow. Oh my good lord. You love to see it. What a brilliant prediction on those skeletons. Only a minute and a half into the game, and that is what it takes to be the best in the world. What's the #1 play? What's the #1 response? Here's the prediction, my friend.
I mean, just exactly what we want to be seeing in the semifinals, the finals. This is going to be it. And right here, you know, this is one of those times where if you make a great play like that, you deserve to hit the Crown Tower with your Golden Knight. You deserve for a splash to kind of just hit.
Wow, and then you see there Minnie kind of going, look, I need to come back in this game. The Miner plus Rocket this early on, I mean, it is going into double, so it's a pretty solid play, but I actually really like that he was able to narrow the gap with that.
Yeah, I really like that. I was thinking perhaps he's overextending, but it appears that that's not really the case. Now, this is where defenses get interesting. If the Marcher is played too high, then you get to go log delivery on top. but you also have to be careful about how much you're spamming on top of each other.
Right.
Otherwise, you're giving too much rocket value. So it gets really exciting to see how this game is going to develop.
1309 to 1852. Fancy footwork on both sides, but this is going to be a great lineup with that Magic Archer. It will get pushed out of tower range, but damage still is in. And another protection here, triple protection, but that's what we're talking about. There's value to the rocket. There's also great value to that Royal Delivery. Oh, that cannon cart is getting scary.
And right there, scary enough that it forces out a Dark Prince that was not required from him. Huge mistake, and you can't be making these mistakes, especially as this game develops. Delivery placed up top, but this could
my
be a dash.
good lord, I've said it twice in this game. I cannot get over this guy, man. These are brilliant plays after brilliant plays, and even this is a brilliant defense. Okay, the shield comes off. I get a little excited, but that would have been perfect.
And look, Minnie still technically does have a chance. He only has the drill, he only has the NATO, but at this point, it's so difficult. One NATO up is going to be enough, and I love this. Uses the Inferno Tower instead of any troop. Doesn't matter. Arden, phenomenal gameplay. Predictions, you know, tornado interactions to get everything on top of the tower, and then, you know, it doesn't matter if you're going to place correctly with an Inferno Tower high. Game's already over.
King Tower activation comes in, and here we go. A snowball that is timed absolutely perfectly. A second later, he misses. A second earlier, excuse me, he misses, and a second later, Minnie decides to go a little bit lower. Just great stuff there. And then look at this counter push. He goes Ewa's up high to keep the Golden Knight alive. Perfect placement on that drill, and
oh, just sick. The Fire Spirit can't get any value whatsoever because the dash is already on top. And look, I called it, you know, the Inferno Tower is exactly what you need to be doing. You know your opponent is going to try and NATO everything. Up into the Crown Tower, what do? You respond with the tower that can't get pulled, but you know, the drill still gets the damage. He still wins the game.
I want to watch that game for the rest of my life. I just want to watch it over and over and over. There was so much brilliance there, and to be able to pull it off against someone like Minnie, that's the thing, is you're predicting one of the best in the world, and you also have the gall to go for it. You've got to have a lot of confidence in yourself to be able to go for those moves that early on, especially against someone like Minnie with this deck. You know, there's so much control there. You make any mistake early on, you start to lose that elixir advantage. It's not quite as punishing when you're going up against, as it would be if you were going up against like a beatdown deck, but you're going up against Minnie Minter with a deck that can completely control the tempo. Arden goes, I need to control the tempo. I'm going to make it happen.
Right. And it's such a cool matchup because you have to assume, you know, with Arden, he does use RG. He does use, you know, at this point, he does use drill. He does use mortar.
Right.
So he's obviously decks are going to be sculpted to try and battle against all three of those decks. I feel like that minor deck was created to win that matchup.
You're talking about Minnie's minor deck.
Yes, I'm talking about Minnie's minor against that deck. I think Arden just played that well.
Well, you saw, you know, that high E was defending late to get in front of the Golden Knight. That felt weird, right? It felt like, at least for me watching it, I'm like, huh, you figured the Ewas would maybe be a little lower, Golden Knight would be tanking for it. But the idea there was to bait out the delivery.
Right.
The delivery comes down on top of the Ewas, and the Ewas basically only, because then it focuses that first stab on the Ewas. Then the Golden Knight gets to take it out of play, and then it becomes that much more formidable on offense. So it's just these plays where he's living in the future of going, all right, I know he's going to go for delivery value here, so how do I take what he's definitely going to do and make it a play for me? And you saw him do that time and time again. I love Minnie Minter, but right now, this is Arden Toas' tournament to lose. I'm saying it.
Yeah, you're allowed to. I'll give it to you. I mean, he's deserving of it. We've talked a lot about Betfoss and what he's been able to accomplish. He went 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 in this tournament today. But Arden, I mean, just time and time again, I've come from I believe.
Yeah.
And you said it. This is his tournament to lose.
And there we go. The first time we're seeing Lava today? Is it the second time?
Second time.
Second time we're seeing Lava Hound today. We'll see if Arden Toas has success with it. I think it's also the second or third time I think we're seeing the Mighty Miner. I should probably just stop trying to count stuff.
And it is the clone variation. Yeah. I saw the bats followed by the lava. this version can get scary. Zap plus minions might not be enough. You know, a lot of the troops have 0.5 HP, but that...
Oh, that's it.
That's just too many troops.
And Minnie just has to laugh it off. And I'm going to give credit where credit's due. You held up your hand because you wanted to call out the clone before it came down. So for all of you guys at home, everyone in the studio saw it, but for all of you at home, AC knew that it was going to be clone 2 cards before it got dropped. I just couldn't shut my mouth, which is honestly what I'm supposed to do up here.
Right. And that's why I couldn't interject. I'll give him his thought. He's allowed this.
This guy would just shut up. Mini Minter in trouble, 13 HP remaining. Ardentois hasn't even taken 13 HP of damage. This is going to be an uphill battle for Mini Minter.
And look, he does have the zap. If the bats do come down, this could be a problem. But instead of using the bats, he goes with a Skarmy Hive because he can go zap forced out right there. Bats are going to be able to put in a lot of work. And if this takes it out, this is going to be a scary push. But those pups actually put in a lot of work. This might not be the push that Arden was planning for.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with you. He's still going to get a good amount of damage here. I like what he was going for, AC. He was going for the long game there. You called it out. Using the Skarmy so that it baits out the zap, then getting the bats down. Hopefully the bats plus the Baby Dragon both survive, and then you have them behind that lava for another clone. Doesn't quite work out that way, but Mini Minter back in this. He's taken the first tower.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting to see how this game, goes on from this, because yes, you have the Baby Dragon, yes, you have the Flying Machine bats, but you have the Fireball for Flying Machine. You have the zap for the bats if you want it. And right here, chooses to use it on the Skarmy. The lava will be able to get there. It's just going to be interesting to see, how many picks and chooses for how he wants to defend each and every push.
Yeah, this is going to be a really great game of chess as we tick down. 17 seconds remain here in regulation. Will Minnie be able to extend this to 3? He laughs off the early tower take from Ardentois, but he's able to come right back into this game.
One of my favorite things about Clone is every time you make a play, at least one of the viewers is going to say, oh, why is he doing that? He places it in the pocket, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, obviously you want to be building a push, but he gets a lot of Clone value right there. It appears to be the right place. He can stick another lava in front if he chooses to do so. It's just, whether or not he's going to get the damage he needs is the question. Eventually, he will get overwhelmed by these Inferno Dragons and minions.
2 lava pounds on the tower with a boatload of pups. A zap comes in and makes easy cleanup there. And right now, it's 27-82 to 875. 80 seconds remain. Minnie hanging on for his life.
And unable to protect his Baby Dragon and his Flying Machine with the lava in front. Tower will take out the minions, still forces out the fire.
First time we saw the fireball?
That is the first time. And right there, the reason why you're keeping that fireball is for that loon push. Do you have enough? If the zap comes down.
Oh, the zap comes in. Another drop for sure. Wow, Mini Minter fighting for his life, now in the lead for the first time in this entire game. I mean, he did take the first tower, but there was a lot of damage done on the other one and on his Princess Tower that is still standing.
And finally does not place it in the pocket. Inferno Dragon placed onto it. Is he going to clone it? Is he going to fireball on defense? So many options. Needs to come in with a fireball. Clone
Pups on the tower.
Down.
Clone in. 488, 559. Mini Minter doing a great job holding on here. Aggressive Skeleton King in the pocket, going after those tombstone skeletons.
I love this, keeping the pressure up. Will he go in with the lava? Chooses to go in with the Flying Machine. Not in the pocket, but at the bridge. Baby Dragon placed that as well.
Oh, you love the Baby Dragon. It gets on top of the minions. He does have the fireball for this balloon. Mini Minter is in trouble.
I don't understand the reasoning behind that. There's still time on the board.
That's it. Mini Minter is eliminated in a riveting back and forth in the skies. One of them's got Inferno and Mighty Miner. The other one has got one of the dirtiest cards to ever do it in the clone.
Oh my goodness. As we take a look at this replay, the clones were scary, and obviously that's what Minnie was worried about. But the final push, he goes in with the Loon plus Fireball. And it's clear your opponent is fireballing in defense.
Right.
Why are you using the fireball in offense right there?
Yeah, I mean, that is such a good point that you make. And again, that's the luxury of being up here at the desk. But Minnie was probably freaking out, right? Like, this game was so close. That clone is so devastating. But I couldn't agree more with you, Josh. There's no reason to spend 9 elixir on a push that you know is not going to break through.
I mean, just solid defense overall. And I mean, from both players, Clone is always, you know, at the end of the day, you know, he did have to go against Clone, so it shouldn't even count as a loss. But yeah, he did his absolute best. He defended some very difficult pushes. I mean, it was consistent pressure in the pocket. You know, can you stop me? And time again, he did. It just didn't hold up for that entire 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he didn't lose the tower right there on that push was shocking to me, but this is where things kind of fall apart for Minnie, right? We see this balloon at the bridge, and there's a flying machine with a baby dragon right there. Nothing is there to stop that. He's spending too little defensively, hoping for too much offensively.
Yeah, just one fireball on defense. You try and cycle in. You kind of protect from the flying machine that could be placed in the pocket. Loon, I mean, your opponent doesn't have a building, so a Loon in the pocket can do the damage that you need if you can get it off in time, and I'm pretty sure he might have been able to do that.
This might be the fastest 16 down to 2 single elimination tournament that I have cast in my entire career of casting Clash Royale League, and it has been an absolute blast. The era of everyone gets us to Ardentois and Betfa standing on top of the mountain for our grand finals, a guaranteed $2,000 to one and $4,000 and all the bragging rights in the world to the other. Betfus, Ardentois, and the numbers don't lie, Josh. Look at that. 2-0 on Cool Soul, 2-0 on Diego B, 2-0 on Magma. What about the other side of it? 2-0 on Lost, 2-0 on Ian, 2-0 on Minna. Perfection to the finals. We'll be back in just a second. Don't you go anywhere.
The Snapdragon Pro Series is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
Gotta get it, I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited. Keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane.
The grand finals are set. We have seen perfection on behalf of both of our participating players. It's going to be Betfus versus Arden Toas, two players who have been completely dominating the bracket here all day, and this finals is going to be just as exciting, or at least I can assume it's going to be just as exciting as it has been on the road to get here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series. I am your host, Glitter Explosion, of course, still joined by Josh and Andrew, and it's been a day. We were just talking about it during the break. We were not ready for just how much domination that we've seen so far.
When's the last time you saw a tournament go like this?
I've never seen this, like, ever.
It's so many 2-0s with so many great players. I mean, we watched how good Minnie was for the entire day, and then he runs into Arden, and it's another 2-0 set. I mean, we were talking after round one. I was like, that's probably all we're going to get for the 2-0s. Curse of the Caster maybe in the good way, because that was incredible.
You know what? I will take it because all it's done is give us fantastic Clash Royale gameplay. It's been keeping things exciting the entire time, and now is the final opportunity for us to talk about the finals with these last two players, the juggernauts, if you will, that have been Betfus and Arden all day.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw that bracket, right? 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 to be able to get to where they are. Great players that they met along the way. Both of them running decks that they like, decks that they're good with. A lot of great variation out there. You know, for how much we talked about how you should stick to the meta, I feel like these guys have had great twists on meta decks, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one of the twists is using what you're known for right there. You know, earlier we had seen someone use Expo and it didn't have any level of success. And he said, well, that's just because he played it poorly, not because it's not going to do well in this tournament. We saw domination right there with this deck. And yeah, overall, it's just like, I love the twist, what they're doing. We saw Clone from Arden. This is not what we expect from these kind of players, and I love that for them. They're playing it well. And I mean, overall, yes, they're 2-0s, but their opponents have been playing pretty well. They're just playing way better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things to touch on. I mean, last tournament that we cast, you were saying that the match between Wallace and Mugi was the best playing you've ever seen out of a loser. And I couldn't agree more, because we've seen so much of that here again today. And then to touch on what Glitter was talking about just a little bit, you know, before our break, when she was saying that I wouldn't want to run into Betfus. He's got so much momentum. The only person that has as much momentum and has done it with the exact amount of style is the guy that you guys are seeing right now on screen. It's Arden Toas. And Josh, maybe you could talk about this as we look at the highlights. Momentum is not everything in Clash, but it's a lot more than you'd think if you've never played at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go down that first game, and, you know, we're seeing it. The reason why it's been, you know, 6-0 for both of these players, when you're dominating at the level they're dominating at with the deck selection and just the gameplay overall, you know, things, it just feels like they kind of just go their way when the momentum is with them. It feels like you don't have the right cycle at the beginning of the game. We saw that when the Expo was going against the Mortar Miner deck. Everything goes right for them, and when you're that talented, you can't afford for anything to not go your way.
I mean, Clash Royale is a snowball game when it comes to mistakes, begetting mistakes, but also when you are feeling yourself, those interactions just go your way, and it has been nothing but that for Betfus and Arden Toas all day long. And we talked about Betfus missing the NATO and being able to stick through it and be able to take down Diego B in that game. It was the same thing here. Minnie was actually the one who blinked first, even though he has more experience. He was the one that made the game, set, tournament losing mistake by being hyper aggressive with those balloon fireballs and again not respecting the defense of his opponent.
Yeah, right here. I mean, we look at it again and he just when it comes to clutch time, crunch time, everything matters at that point. And Arden and Betfos, when it comes to that clutch time, they're making the right play every single time.
And we'll have to see who does it better in the finals. Now, obviously, chat, it's the finals, so I have to ask your opinion on it too. Who do you think is going to be taking home that top spot in our Clash Royale Snapdragon Mobile Open Finals? This is for all the marbles. Everything that they've been pushing for the entire day all boils down to this. So it is time to get into it for the last time of the day. Let's kick things off.
Arden Toas won $15,000 just a couple weeks ago, and that is going to help a lot in terms of the pressure going into this game. $6,000 match coming your way, a $6,000 best of 3. One takes 4, one takes 2, but Arden has that little bit of extra oomph because he won $15,000 just a couple weeks ago. That pressure just a little bit smaller for him than Betfus.
Yeah, this reminds me of when Hire was able to accomplish the feat where he won like 3 tournaments in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This is that same level. It's weird saying that for a second place finish, but it's technically a first if we factor in who he was playing against.
The unbeatable Muhammad Light.
And yeah, I mean, you have the 6th place finish on ladder. You have the $15,000 won. You possibly have the winner of the Snapdragon series. This is an unbelievable 2-week run from him.
I have no idea what we're going to see out of both of these guys because they have been so diverse in their deck selection. I cannot wait to see what they come out with. I hope they keep us guessing in game number 1. But also, I love that they've been playing what they're best at. We saw Clone come out for the first time in who knows how long. And again, going back to that Expo play, 3.0 Expo, not the most popular Expo deck in the meta, doesn't have AQ, doesn't have Valk, doesn't have a Spirit in there, or doesn't have Electro or Fire Spirit. He went with the classic Ice Spirit. It was just like, look, we're in my world. We're going to play my game now, and we are waiting for these players to set their decks. Remember, this is a best of 3. This is the last set of the day to see who our champion is of the Snapdragon Pro Series, Betfus and Arden Toas. Could you have imagined these two at the end of the day when you saw the initial 16?
Arden, well, okay, so mine was Arden and Diego, but if I couldn't choose that, I was going to say Arden and Betfos. Even though I haven't put it all together with my belief of Arden, I have been impressed enough where I think, yes, he's going to be able to make it. And obviously the 6th ladder finish, 15,000, it should have been enough for my brain to comprehend that he could pull that off. But right here, everything is together. Both Betfos and Arden playing phenomenally. Who's going to play better, though?
Let's see who can put it together to impress AC in our grand finals. Once again, a $6,000 best of 3 single elimination dual format in the era of everyone. It's Betfus and Arden at the top.
Right there, Fisherman able to lock onto, and wow, an aggressive RG. This is the matchup we saw Betfos run against Diego. It was the drill, control deck going against the RG. And Arden does have the Dark Prince. He doesn't have the Giant Skeleton. So it allows him to get a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be interesting to see if Betfos is going to put enough pushes together that, it's even going to scare Arden.
Nice lightning there to clean up that ensuing Magic Archer and Cannon Cart push. 30-27 to 24-38, and only down 1 elixir, and Betfus down 600 HP. A great start for Arden Toas.
Last card for Arden. Last cards for Arden. Is it going to be the Bar Barrel? Is it going to be the Log Variation? We're often seeing Bar Barrel plays, but, it's kind of odd. I feel like a lot of the matchups, the Log actually would have improved it. So, it's definitely going to be interesting with that. And the Betfos just running what everybody's been running in this tournament. People are running it for good reason. It's a very strong deck. It consistently overwhelms that Golden Knight NATO and Magic Archer NATO, it's just so scary to deal with.
Beautiful geometry there for that Magic Archer lineup as another Royal Giant comes down. AQ goes invisible, takes that Royal Ghost out of play as the Royal Giant putting some work in on that tower. 18-24 to 24-91. These two stopping and staring as we hit double elixir.
Archer Queen gets that final hurrah out and gets the Archer shot onto the cannon cart, not going to allow it to stay alive and get some damage. Fisherman placed up top, absolutely necessary, and that's a beautiful tornado. Tower locked onto the Knight, and all of a sudden, Petfos takes the lead after just being dominated early on. He's now winning.
What a great play there by Betfus. Doesn't use the Golden Knight dash, decides to hold it because he knows the unit's going to come down up high, but a great response here from Arden. Royal Giant shot on the left-hand side, Dark Prince on the right. 1371, 1517 are the two tower healths for Betfus, who is down by just a hair here. 1688 is the healthiest tower for Arden Toas. That Queen shot makes that gap just a little bit larger, and another great lightning here from Arden.
Does not use the ability. It's one of the only times that we've ever seen that with the Golden Knight. It's almost always, profitable to use that. Right there, though, understands, troops are going to die, not going to be worth it. You have to save up that elixir, and Cannicart actually going to have the RG lock onto that instead of the tower.
1292 to 1688, a minute 52 remaining here in overtime as that Royal Ghost puts in a bit of damage on that left-hand tower.
Mega Minion placed, the RG will quickly follow, and there we go, drill again. This is not what Diego did. He tended to use the NATO on defense.
Yeah.
We're seeing right here, that might not have been the correct response. The drill is putting in a lot of work in this matchup.
1292, 1688, Betfus trying to come back into the lead. Arden Toas hanging on for dear life here. Knight will not dash onto that Princess Tower. And now we see a lane change here from Arden. I like that going here with this good push behind. Lightning gonna come in, drill down defensively.
Lightning not placed on top. One of the goblins will survive, but not long enough. Barbaro will put in the work, and Ewis up top. Ewis is the only option for him. Exactly what he needed to place, but it's not gonna matter. Ewis taken out.
Arden Toas, one game away from being the champion of the Snapdragon Pro Series Split 1 here in NA, and my goodness, Betfus made that a very exciting match to watch, but Arden with a late game lane change takes this one.
Yeah, Betfos, really, there was only one special play that he could make, and it was the NATO back on the Dark Prince.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just consistent defense. Can he get kind of lucky is really the only thing he could even chalk it up to. Beautiful NATO back. What does it matter? He places the E-Wiz so that way the Fisherman doesn't yank it off.
Yeah.
And, all it does is delay the inevitable. Tower's getting taken out by that RG.
Yeah, that's got to be so frustrating, right? When you're like, this is the best response, this is the best response, and this is the best response, and you still lose the tower. You see right there, 24 building elixir spent there by Betfus was not enough to keep that Royal Giant at bay. All 6 of them, actually. That was a lot of RGs coming out, and they started early on. We saw that first RG being dropped within, I think it was the first minute of the game, and when you see a player playing that aggressively, that confidently, and then being rewarded for it, it's a scary person to play against because you feel like those reaches, they might be putting themselves in elixir hole. Not the case.
Yeah, we often see, minor wall breakers be a deck that you can have the win condition be played the most. I don't know if I've ever seen that be the case for RG. RG kept getting placed down. If the Lightning was the correct response, the Fisherman was the correct response, he would place it. But it was just overwhelming again and again and again.
At most, we have 2 games remaining today here in the Snapdragon Pro Series where winning matters. Think Snapdragon, and right now, Betfus is going, please, God, let me win. Let me make it to that 3rd game. I played so good in game number 1, but was rewarded not the way that you'd like by dropping that first game. Arden Toas has been perfect all day long. He needs just one more win to take home that $4,000, and of course the bragging rights of being the best in North America, where there are a lot of incredible players that didn't even make it to through qualifiers.
Right. There's been a lot of flack in the North American scene for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Can they compete on, world's levels? And right here, we're seeing it. America and, Mexico, they have that talent. if they can put it together, you know, especially with the new players like Arden and Betfos, you know, Mexico is going to be a scary team to watch in these world competitions.
Yeah, it's tournaments like this where you wonder what organizations are out there in the world looking and going, I need that guy on my squad. I need to send a contract his way. If I get him a good coach, I get him a good analyst, we could take home Worlds and World Finals. It is a single player, right? It is that world that we're in now in CRL, the era of everyone. It's just one person that can climb to the top of that mountain, whether it was Team Queso's Ruben, right? We saw that happen at the end of the teams format, and then it goes right into Mugi. Who's it going to be in 2022? Could it be one of these two that we're seeing on screen? Betfus cycling a Musketeer in what could be his last showing today. Arden Toas, he does the same.
Ooh, Arden Toas could be using... Okay, both players could be using that Poison Musketeer deck. Both players could have said, they could have said, you know, we're keeping this for the end of the match. Mortar plus Musketeer, Poison, you called it. This is one of the strongest decks in the meta. Shocked it took game 2 of the finals to see it.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you. And then on the other side of it, Arden Toas running another relatively popular Mortar variation. You know, it's a little heavier than a lot of people like. We'll see what else he has in there. But you know what? For me, if this could be the last game of our day, seeing Mortar on both sides, I'm a very happy man.
No, it's disgusting that you get rewarded for enjoying a card like that. I like cards like Three Musketeers, and the last time I've seen it be played in a tournament was by myself 4.5 years ago, so I don't understand what the developers have against me, but that's neither here nor there. Golden Knight placed on top of the miner, placed perfectly, but the bats are going to take a lot of it out. Mortar placed on top. He doesn't really have a great response to that dashing Golden Knight. Yeah,
and you see right there, having to take a lot of that damage on top of the Mortar. Mortar now focusing on that Musketeer. A bit of an overspend, though, having to come out for Arden, not getting quite as much out of that Muskie as he would have liked because of those bats. Love the log, though. And, you know, this guy has had great predictions in his last set against Minnie, and that's a great one right there. Doesn't get really much out of it, but it is just something that makes your opponent go, huh, maybe I don't play the guards next time.
Wow, and those bats are eating the tower down, 1850 all the way down. I was wondering what his response was. What is his 1 elixir, 2 elixir card? If you have the log and a bunch of 4 elixir cards, you're just saying you hope your opponent doesn't have bats?
Yeah.
It's shocking that he doesn't have a better response. These bats have just been putting in so much work throughout this game.
And there you go, delivery going to come down here. Better response this time around, but still kind of looking like the kryptonite to Arden Toas here is that bats plus miner push, because he keeps finding himself with a bit of an overextension, and also on that last exchange, the cannon cart, I believe, was not tanking for the Mortar. The Musketeer was, which is not what you want either. Your highest damage dealing card to get taken away.
Wow, Musketeer forced out in response to the Golden Knight. Miner is going to come down in the right lane, but the bats are going to fully take out the Musketeer, protects the Mortar, and now that he swapped lanes, this is how, you know, this is what you want to see if you're a fan of Arden. You're going same lane, you're having a lot of, you know, a lot of troubles getting any sort of damage, any sort of momentum whatsoever. He swaps lanes, this is anybody's game now.
You said that during the Queso Cup Golden Edition, and it really did stick with me. You were like, what I always do if I'm losing and there's no way through, at least change lanes. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to lose anyway, the game that you were already losing. So why not change up what's going on? That's exactly what Arden does, and just like that, he's back in the game, but not in a good spot.
I'm not sure if the Mortar has locked onto the Knight or the tower. Locks onto the tower, and that's going to get all the way down to 627. Kind of a weird push going. Mortar on the right lane. Knight and Cannon Cart. Musketeer to take out the opposing Musketeer. Can kind of get aggressive with a miner push, but I don't know if that's going to be able to put in work. Cannon Cart not locking onto the tower. That's unfortunate for Art.
Miner doesn't get there in time. Musketeer tanking for the Miner. 1621 to 627. It looks like we might finally be getting a game number 3 here. We've only had one other one today that we got to cast. Now, there was a couple other ones that happened, but here we are in our grand finals, and I'd expect nothing less. Betfus holding on for dear life, but there's still 50 seconds remaining. Can he take game number 2?
Oh, and again, the bats placed at the bridge. That should not be the stopper.
Right.
Like, there needs to be a tank to do that. It should not be a 2 elixir card. Betfos played it fantastically. How did he play it fantastically? Bats were placed on the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the fascinating things about this game and about those cards. I mean, pros have been saying for so long, bats are broken. They don't want them to change, but bats are broken because they do so much damage so quickly, and if you don't have a response, there's nothing you can do. We talked about it before with the Flying Machine, a little bit more obvious with that 4 elixir card with massive range, but those bats have done so much, and again, this is what you were talking about, AC. Beautiful bats up high.
Yeah, I mean, the Valk plus the bats, and I really liked how he was playing the end game. You know, he's not doing anything special. He's trying to get miners, but he's not extending and placing the log early. He's not placing the poison early. He's trying to get the chip. If he gets stopped, it's okay. He resets and just defends properly. I mean, look at that. Arden, 0 times placed for the poison. Every time the bats were placed high, and he couldn't get any value with it.
It's a great call because I was wondering what that last spell is. Most likely is going to be poison because there was never an opportune spot to play it on the board. It was either going to be a negative trade or an over expenditure on top of something like bats, and he was never able to get good tower damage there. So just like that, the narrative changes so quickly here in Clash Royale. Betfus looking exceptional in game number 2, Ardentois dominating in game number 1, and so that question starts peeking up in the back of my mind. Is Ardentois going to be one of those always a bridesmaid, never a bride? Will he always be the second place finisher in tournaments? We've seen him do it numerous times now. Will that happen again today? What are you thinking so far in this set?
Look, I've only seen one mistake from him overall in this tournament, and it was when he used the Golden Knight when the bats were going to come down with a miner.
Right.
It should have been the delivery. He should have waited. That should have been okay. But one mistake over the course of 4 sets, you still have to feel very confident.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't know if Betfos has really made any mistakes. This is the cleanest run-through from both players that I've seen in any tournament in the past 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you when we came back from our break, was like, when's the last time we've seen this in the competitive scene where it's not like a tournament of a bunch of the greatest players ever playing against me? You know, this is like exceptional players in a lot of our matches, especially once we got narrowed down to 8. And again, this is no slight on those other players that got eliminated in round 1. One of them was Boss, who's a great player out there, a great content creator. It just shows that these guys were on a roll. They're moving through, they're feeling themselves, and Betfus and Ardentois just cleaning up the competition. And now finally, the 2 best really did make it on through. You know, you talk about, you know, single elimination is all RNG. That's not true. You look at the games we saw today, and the 2 best are exactly where they're supposed to be.
Absolutely. And that, you know, and one thing that you can say is when it's single elimination, it does bring out the best players because everybody else is worried. When you're one of those best players, that's kind of just okay. You kind of felt like you were going to be in the winner's bracket anyways.
Right.
So when you don't really have that, you know, on your shoulder, if I lose, then, you know, I can get embarrassed and I only make it to round 2. They don't really feel that way. Their plan was to make it to the finals anyways. This is just quicker for them.
$6,000 on the line, a $6,000 decision. I've never had to, you know, have $6,000 on the line to pick 8 cards to win with. So as Arden and Betfus set their decks, let's take a look at this set so far. Game 1, it was actually a really great game, back and forth. Betfus had some nice moves there, but like you said, AC, in this game, in this matchup specifically, the best thing you could do, the coolest thing you could do was that NATO that we just saw right there. Otherwise, you're having a really tough time breaking on through, and Arden's not going to let that happen more than once.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of set himself up. Which lane, like, the toughest question in the final 2 minutes was which lane do I want to take?
Right.
And, you know, even just making it get into overtime is kind of impressive if you're Betfos. It is a difficult deck to stop. You only have the drill. You have the cannon cart, so you can kind of make some cute plays with getting the lightning onto the cannon cart to take the aggro. But overall, I mean, both sets, they were won by the better matchup. We haven't seen that 50-50 matchup yet to decide, you know, who really is playing that cleaner game.
And you see right there, Betfus getting the best out of 2 elixir over and over and over again. $6,000 on the line. Our best of 3 in game number 3, Arden and Betfus. Who will it be? And it looks like Betfus might be going Expo. And if he is, that might not be great, because I think Arden is going EQ.
Okay, we see the Archer Queen, and, you know, it still could be EXO. It could be that 3.3 variant, I want to say. Arden going to be running Hog, EQ, and there we go.
There it is.
I don't know how he wants to win this matchup. Knight is late, and the Tesla's going to lock onto the wrong... Wow, this could have been so much worse, but only 2 Elixir. That Firecracker getting that last shot was instrumental for that defense to actually succeed.
I'm so glad I got to just sit back and watch that because that was incredible. Thanks for talking me through it, man, because I didn't know what was going to happen there. I thought the Expo was going to lock, and then I thought Arden maybe overextended, but there was that interaction with the late Knight. Beautiful stuff there. Arden, untouched, unscathed, with the first Expo drop from Betfus, the best in the world with that 6 Elixir card.
Yeah, the telestration would have been crazy because I would have been circling 18 different things all at once. Just too stressful for me.
So Arden running a old school kind of deck. There's a bit of a twist, obviously, with the snowball instead of the log, but that could help out with knocking units out of the way or slowing down that Princess Tower. And the nice thing about this is because both of these decks were so prominent for so long, they've both played this matchup 1,000 times. But who's better at it? Betfus has probably played it more.
Right, and you know, this is going to decide how you're supposed to play this matchup because does he want to try and go with the Expos on defense? No, we see the Expo early and the Fire Spirit is enough. Hog does get the lock. The Earthquake will be enough. Oh my goodness, there was 18 different ways he could have won the game right there. But every time the Expo was just about to go for the tower, it doesn't. And here we go, Fireball cycling with 47 seconds left. That I get that it's the play, but if you're in a position for Arden where you see your opponent already cycling fireballs, you have to feel pretty good. Yeah, and you see right there, that Firecracker gets a couple splash shots on top of the tower, bringing it down to 23-16. There's the King Tower activation coming in from Betfus. Betfus goes back down with this Expo. Every time these Expos come down, I feel like my heart skips a beat. Can he defend this one? I don't know, Josh. He's already spent a lot, and that Expo's pretty healthy. Wow. Just get that last shot every single time. It's like, you know, we're seeing troops that are acting like the Mortar, how the Mortar always gets that one shot. All these troops are just understanding the priorities. They know what they need to do. They need to get that last shot, and somehow, some way, it's actually happening. And right there, we don't ever see Expo get used with Zap, but right there, the Zap actually puts in work, gets the other...
That was the best snowball I've seen in a very long time. Takes out the Tesla, pushes the AQ to the other lane, gets that Hog over to tower. 21-54, Hog back on the board. Snowball again, and the cycle game from Arden is dirty.
Archer Queen does get a shot, gets the tower down to 24-13, and beautiful interaction right there, going to the opposite lane. 1992 to 24-13, 500 HP separating the two players. And I don't know if, you know, the reason why you can spell cycle is because you have Fireball and Log.
Right.
When you only have Fireball and Zap, you don't have that opportunity anymore.
You see right there the predictive Tesla coming down for Arden, but is that going to be a mistake? No Expo is there. A high Valkyrie here, but that Queen can still go invisible. Knight going to fall off the board. Queen going to demand a little bit of a response. There's the Fire Spirit, and now that Queen's going to help. No, does not help with the Skellies. Hog Rider opposite lane. Beautiful kite.
Now the question is, as we get into triple elixir, is there ever going to be an opportunity where he can zap the Skellies? At this point, he needs to win by an Expo on offense. So are we going to see a potential game-breaking interaction where he zaps predictively on Skellies in order to get it to lock on top?
I don't know, man. Arden is really keeping up that cycle. Right here, we're going to see Betfus has come all the way back around. We'll see if he wants to get hyper-aggressive and get another Expo down. Not 100% sure. What was that? What was that?
He's already back to another Earthquake. He has the Valk in cycle. The Hog is going to come down. Can he catch everything? No, siree. The Zap, you know, it had potential in this matchup, but he needed to get an early lock.
This is it. This is it. 10 seconds remain. Betfus gets a Desperation Expo down, but Arden Toas is gonna do it. He lost one game all day, working through 4 separate rounds of the Snapdragon Pro Series. He is your champion today. $4,000 going in the bank. A beautiful 2020 run for this incredible upcoming player.
Unreal. How does he do it? I mean, I love the idea of using Expo Zap. You know your opponent isn't possibly gonna predict that you use Expo, but at the end of the day, you know, that's when it comes, you know, do you have an analyst? Do you have, you know, the right mindset to be able to win that game 3 after you lost a heartbreaker? Right there, Arden goes in with the Hog EQ Valk in
Love
game
it.
3 when your opponent doesn't have a log available to him.
And those last second drops of the spirits with the skellies, with the Hog. Absolute brilliant timing there. Glitter, we're just going to talk forever now because we're blown away.
That's fine, because, I mean, talk about a hard-fought battle. That was incredible, and very, very much so deserving the final 2 players in that match. I mean, they, like you said, perfection all day, and then Arden drops only 1 game. I mean, what? How do you only, in an entire bracket, how do you only lose 1 game?
And it's the players that he plays against. When you look at this bracket, the Lost is someone that we're seeing more and more. Ian77, one of the most promising players in the world right now. Minnie, one of the best players in the world. And then he runs into Betfus, the best Expo player to do it. And he beats him with his own, at his own game in our finals, 2-1.
I love this. I love everything about what we got to see here today, and we're going to be having those highlights kind of playing here in the background. But talk me through some of your favorite moments from even just the finals.
I mean, right here, let's see. Okay, so, you know, I'm going to kind of give like an ABC, 1, 2, 3. Is that like the Michael Jackson reference because of Rich? I think that's what it is.
Jackson 5, you got it, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the things that I liked were when you didn't really have a chance to win the game. A lot of the time you were just kind of making the right plays as just like, I might as well just play perfectly even though I don't really have a shot at winning. It's always so fun. It's always such a joy for me to watch games get played to perfection. It doesn't matter what the end, well, as a viewer,
right.
You know, it doesn't matter what the end result is as long as I get to see great clash. There was very limited amounts of mistakes just by these players overall through this entire tournament, and it was fun to watch this game.
I mean,
or this, you know, tournament.
I've been doing this for quite some time now. You and I both have, and this is why when people ask me, do you still love Clash even after all this time? You bet I do. I mean, look at the brilliance that goes on here. When you understand Clash Royale at the highest level, you see the mental gymnastics that go on, the thinking in the future, living in your opponent's head, the predictive plays, the deck decision. All of these things come together to contribute to getting to the top of that mountain, to getting that championship. And you see both of these guys doing everything right. I mean, that's the other thing, is you can't fault either of them for what they did today. It was just perfection on both sides, but one of them had the edge just a little more than the other, and I think we're going to be seeing so much more of both of these guys today.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, and then I want to give one last special shout out just in case it doesn't get asked. That Fire Spirit play, you know, I can't stress it enough. It was great. I mean, just the predictions. I mean, the predictions overall in this tournament, even by, you know, some of the players that ended up getting 2-0'd by Arden and Betfus.
Right.
They were talented players. You know, this tournament overall, it was shocking to see the level displayed by these players.
And, you know, you think about all the names that we're talking about today, I'd say a quarter to a third of the people that were competing are people that I am very, very well versed in, which is all about what we've said all day long, and that this is the era of everyone. Anyone can come up now in Clash Royale, and you're seeing it. You are seeing the changing of the guard, and there's that money. $4,000 going to Arden Toas. Not a bad Thursday for him, right?
I mean, you guys have said it a couple times. This is coming off of the back of a previous win.
Yeah.
More money in his pocket and kind of starting to set himself up as a scary player to have to go up against in the next split, because this is just half of the action that we have going on. Just a little reminder, I'm just going to do it early now since it's kind of flowing with everything that we've got going on. Split 2 signups. They're open, okay? Not only, I hope at least, we'll be seeing a ton of these names returning in Split 2, but maybe we'll be seeing your name up there as well. So you can head on over to SnapdragonProSeries.com to do that, because money is on the line. Same amount that you just saw there is going to be available in Split 2 as well. And if you're Arden, you know that he's coming for that bag, okay? Because now he's got a title to defend. So this should be really, really exciting. But before I close the whole show out, guys, let's get some final thoughts, okay, on the entire day.
Please. Youth before beauty? Is that no?
I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't appropriate.
Please don't. Please don't do this to me. I'm going to get flamed.
Yeah, I mean, overall in the tournament, it was just so quick. I was shocked by, you know, all the 2-0s, and I don't know if, you know, momentum played, nerves played. I kind of want to just dive into the thoughts of each player. I'm going to talk to a lot of these players afterwards just to kind of get their thoughts on this all. This was exciting and just different, not something we ever get to see. I mean, it's not often where I could go again. And after this tournament, I feel like I'm just getting revved up right now, and you know, I'm okay that it's over, but there's always a second, you know, there's a second phase that we can do this for, so I just want to plug that again. But yeah, you know, this was just a great tournament overall, just very quick.
I couldn't agree more with you, and I think that's a testament to the level of skill that we saw today, and also a big shout out to our production crew and them making sure the games are moving along, the admins are doing their jobs, and after doing this for as long as we have, it's incredible how important that is. We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
Being on this desk for as long as we have. I love casting Clash. I love when it's games like this. I love watching up-and-coming stars, and I'm going to plug it too because I didn't know who he was 8 months ago. Now I'm going to be talking about him in every single tournament, and I could be doing that with you. I could be doing that with anyone out there in the Clash Royale world, so I just love what we saw today. I'm just happy to be here.
Fantastic performance across the board. Fantastic job by you two. And whatever information you find out, you better be bringing that into Split 2, okay? Because I want to know what some of those thoughts were from some of those players. But it is time for us to say goodbye because that is going to be a wrap on our Clash Royale Snapdragon Mobile Open Finals. And what a finals they were. Man, if you guys missed it, you better be here next time. Obviously, a huge congratulations to our top 8 players. And of course, thank you so much to everyone who participated here today. Big thanks to our partners, Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force for making this whole thing possible. On behalf of myself, my co-casters, and everyone behind the scenes here at ESL Studios, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Get it, I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited, keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over